Hello everybody and welcome back to the main action, as once again we are going to be standing at the quarter-final stage, and this time around it will be down to contrast to All-Asian semi-final, it would seem, as Watchalong has just managed to get that win against David Gilbert, and it was very much 5.5 hours since that match has started, literally just about, as you can see him fist bumping to the audience. It will be All-Asian, well, certainly semi-final, so one end of the draw is now decided. Let's see how about the other side of the draw. Neil Robertson up against Mark Selby. I think that match is supposed to start on table number 1, therefore it should not be delayed, as should be the other match in between Zhang Anda and, of course, Stuart Bingham, the master of controversy there, after smashing the table in the first frame after missing out on the brown. He hasn't lost a frame since that point, but of course had a bit of a, what do you want to say, beef with the same Mafei after apparently the Iranian was trying to, make contact with the red without genuinely keeping away from making a foul, which infuriated Bingham. The referee decided that she could not do anything about it, and Mafei clearly just didn't have his best day, but Stuart did, and now he's going to play back up against Jaganda, which probably didn't play so well as well against Chris Wakelin, but both of them were able to get through to the table too. Now, talking about the main part of the draw and the main course here, Mark Selby, brilliant win against Karen Wilson. Karen still, once again, struggling badly for performance after such a brilliant Shanghai Masters and probably underachieving in the final. He was playing so brilliantly in Shanghai, but came back here, first round, dreadful against Aaron Hill, managed to win, which is always great news for you when you're not playing well, but at the same time, as I say, the performance just simply wasn't there. And then on the other part of the draw, of course, he had to meet Mark Selby, and Selby doesn't really allow you to be playing half-hearted against him. That didn't work out, and Wilson crashed out 6 frames to 1. When he comes down to Neil Robertson, once again, he's going to be, trying to make his way through Chinese players. He's going to be up against Chang Minyu and Si Jiahui in the first 2 rounds, and both of them relatively comfortable matches for Robertson. I think the first one was a little bit less comfortable. Despite him leading by 5 frames to nil, he wasn't able to hold on to that lead for too long, lost 3 frames in a row, but ultimately the whole point of that lead is that it gives you a chance to only need one more opportunity, and that's exactly what he's done, and was able to win that match 6 frames to 3. Then, the matches came to Si Jiahui. By the way, both of the players, I think with Selby, that's probably not something that would come out as news, but he was playing quite slowly against Wilson in relation to the time. I think it's taken them 3 hours for 7 frames, which is borderline on slow. But I think Robertson against Si Jiahui, they only played 8 frames, which is 1 more than Selby and Wilson. And I think they've taken actually more time, which was a little bit surprising. So let's see. As now Watchalong wins 6 frames to 5. So after being 4-1 down up against David Gilbert, Joe is going to find himself very much in the semi-finals again after being there twice last season, once at the Northern Ireland Open, where he lost out to the eventual winner of Jack Lisowski, and then, of course, in the final, being very much the expert of the Home Nation Series. He was in the final of the English Open after some really good performances, you have to say, against Luca Brissell, against Mark Selby. Yeah, so a really good run there at the Home Nations last season. And now, especially since, Joe doesn't really have to worry about any ranking points for him as well, he may well be finding himself comfortably within the top 16 should he be able to get through and onto the final. He's already up into the world number 22 spot. I remember, he doesn't have any ranking points from 2 seasons ago. So any points that he scores this season, he's going to be keeping them all. So he could easily overtake someone like, not even talking about the middleweights of Stuart Bingham, Chachai. I mean, he could overtake Ding Jiahui, Si Jiahui, or if he's got a brilliant run, could even try and overtake someone like Ronnie O'Sullivan there, which would be incredible achievement. But of course, it all depends on how far he's going to be able to get into these actual tournaments, as meanwhile, we are going to get the Naponsin Kam to be the world number 33 right now. So both of them are going to be trying to make their way towards the top 16. But, for Seyham, it is going to be a little bit more of a mission to try and achieve. But ultimately still, you've got plenty of opportunities for all 6 out of the remaining players to try and make their way towards the final stage. Mark Selby against Neil Robertson will be by far the biggest match of the whole, of the whole draw right now when it comes down to the names and the ranking points. And yeah, as I say, very much down to prize money and ranking titles they managed to win. Of course, it will be down to Selby to be the favourite here for me, because I think he's played better than anything that Robertson has produced. And at the same time, I think he was able to just get himself past that point of, not really struggling in the first round matches too much. And he was able to, as I say, defeat Karen Wilson very comfortably indeed. As in for Robertson, I think you have to give him some sort of credit, because I think he has played well when he had to, but at the same time, I think his opponents haven't really been challenging him that badly out there. And the two of them have met twice in the previous season, and it was very much down to 2 matches they've played. One of the Champion of Champions was in the semi-final, where Selby was able to beat Robertson on his way to be crowned the Champion of Champions. After beating Judd Trump, it was a very comfortable win, 6 frames to 2, didn't leave Robertson a single chance. And then you have to go back all the way to, this exact day, 364 days ago, 13th of August at the Saudi Masters in the last 16, Robertson was able to beat Selby by 6 frames to 4. So whether that scoreline is going to repeat itself and feature in here again, as I say, it was exactly a year ago, barring one day, that it's actually happened. And Selby, it was very much a bit of a stop-start match, because Selby was trailing 3 frames to 1. Then he managed to be leading by 4 frames to 3. And then he lost 3 frames on the bounce to eventually lose out on the whole match by 6 frames to 4. So whether that's going to be something that, Selby is going to have to try and keep on the back of his mind there in relation to needing to make sure that he's actually going to try and perform quite early doors as well. But I think it will be down to an opportunity out there, as, apparently it says transmission on towards the Selby, and Neil Robertson will start at 1950, which is a little bit weird, because I don't really understand why they would try and delay both of the matches out there, but it's up to them. So we've got 20 minutes to try and do something else out there, and let me know if anyone is in the chat wants to, do a little bit of a Q&A, quizzes, anything else. But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting decision. I know that Joey Long against David Gilbert has only just finished, but surely he could have, I suppose you have to let the audience back in, although it's not going to be thousands and hundreds like it would have been at the Crucible. But anyway, let's have a look at the other match then. Stuart Bingham against Zhang Anda. There will still be an opportunity for someone like Zhang to try and make himself to go very much down to the world number 16 spot there, because he's still going to be looking at that as a great opportunity for him, because, he now finds himself being only 18th and ultimately only 65,000 worth of ranking points behind Si Xiaowei as well. So he could easily find himself, locating in that area, challenging Si Xiaowei, and therefore just making sure it will come down to him to be very much the match winner up against Stuart Bingham. And Bingham himself, he's not necessarily trying to sit back. There is a lot of ranking points last season because of, making it down to the semi-finals of the World Championship in 2024. So now he's going to have to try and recover, and he's done that quite nicely so far this season already, getting 26,000 ranking points, which, is going to be a decent equivalent of what he's managed to earn over the first part of the season last year as well. But for now, the top of the one-year list looks like this. Napontan Kam is still going to be leading by 61,000 worth of ranking points. David Gilbert is going to be there with 48,000 as well. Zhang Anda with £33,000 joined third with Jack Jones, the winner of the Championship League. But of course, Jones didn't really have a good China Open. In fact, I'm pretty sure we haven't seen him at all in the main part of the draw, which means that he would have failed the qualifiers and just unable to do anything with that as well. Don't forget that if Robertson wins the competition, he will be world number 1. I don't forget it. I just don't really believe that's going to happen, because, as I say, who's going to be betting against someone like Seng Ham or someone like Joey Long after what they managed to do at the other part of the draw? And also, I think Robertson might actually be the one player out of everyone right now that I fancy the least to win the tournament. Watch him win the tournament now, but I'm genuinely saying this. If I was to say a percentage for everyone to win it, let's actually do it now. I mean, how many players we got right now? 6. Okay, well, let's do the maths then. For Robertson, I would give him 5%. Genuinely, because I don't think he beats Selby. Then, who's going to be the second worst for me? Probably Zhang. I would give him 10%. Simply because I think he's got more chance of beating Bingham than Robertson has got a chance of beating someone like Mark Selby. So, you know, we'll be 10% for Zhang. Then, would I say 10% for Bingham? Well, the thing about Bingham, though, is that he was so cold and hot. So it's really difficult to say which form of Bingham are we actually going to see out there. So, you know, that's an interesting one. So, yeah, I would give him 15% because I think he would beat Zhang. But, you know, there we go. Then, what are we doing next? So we've got 3 more. So obviously Selby has to be 4th because he's not in the semi-final just yet. So that's going to be common sense for you to try and put him in that equation. Let's just sort out Bingham here for now. So, Bingham with 15%. Let's have a look. So that's 14 total. Yeah, I agree with that. Let's go for 20%. Well, actually 25%, Selby. I'm going to be a little bit generous because, you know, why not? So that leaves us with, what's the maths looking like? So that's 30, 55. So that leaves us with 45. So I'm giving Selby more of a chance to win it than someone in the semi-finals, which is a little bit of a stupid thing to do. But when did that ever stop me? So once again, 40. So that's 55 right now. So I have to give 20 to someone and 25 to someone. Yeah, actually makes sense. 20% for Joe. And then 25% for Singham. There you go. That's my percentage of who's going to be the winner. I think 5% for Robertson, 10% for Zhang, 15% for Bingham, 25% for Selby, 20 for Joe, and 25 for Singham. The only thing that I'm a little bit cautious about is that I am genuinely putting Selby past Robertson here and not leaving Robbo any chances. But yeah, I just don't really see the universe. I mean, Selby in Saudi wasn't playing well, was he? When he lost out to Robertson. So I genuinely think this is going to be very much one-sided traffic out there, but we'll have to wait and see if that's actually going to happen. So I should put the message as well. Match delayed by 20 minutes. There you go. So that you don't actually wonder why it's still on 0 and why am I just talking random stuff there. But yeah, ranking points wise, of course, Selby and Robertson have both managed to win the tournament a couple of times there, but Selby ultimately has managed to win 3 times, Robertson only 2, and he has only won this tournament twice, hasn't he, Robertson? I think so. And it's been a while as well since he's done it. I know he's done it in 2019, but before that, yeah, 2013. So he's won that tournament twice. But Mark Selby has managed to win it 3 times as well, and all in pretty recent years there, 15, 17 and 18. So, yeah, it was very much down to domination of Selby and Robertson, with Junwei and Trump to be in the mix as well. But yeah, I think when it comes down to pure performance here, I would be surprised if we don't see very much a contrast in performance as well, because I think Robertson is going to try and play on the front foot. I think he's not really going to be scared about losing this match, because I think, listen, I was a little bit surprised with his interview, because apparently he says he's played well last season, and I'm a little bit like, what? Same percentage between Selby and Singham? Yes, for me, yes. And I know it's a little bit, well, I don't think that's where the question has to come with, because Singham has managed to get himself into the semi-finals already. So definitely he's got one match less that he has to play. I think I might be a little bit too generous to Selby, and I probably should have given 25% to Joe, but I think that Selby will defeat Robertson, hence why 5% only goes for Robertson. But as I said, with the logic and how well he's gone for me so far, I think he'll be down to Robertson probably to win it now. But we'll see. And yeah, I think I was surprised to see Robertson saying that he's played well last season, because I was like, well, either I was watching something else or I haven't seen him to get to a final apart from winning, Saudi. And I know he got to another final in that Riyadh Championship that he lost against Zington, but I mean, first to five in the final, really. I think Gibraltar Open has got more reputation than Riyadh Championship 167 tournament or whatever it was called. So yeah, I don't really buy that from Robertson. I think he was poor for the majority of last season. And the only reason why he doesn't look like he had a poor season is because he managed to win 500,000 worth of ranking points for Saudi, which he's going to lose, quite rightly, alongside Trump. Probably not in the right fashion. I would say that it's a little bit unfair on the four people that are going to lose out because of it: Williams, Trump, O'Sullivan and Robertson. But I don't think Saudi should have given them 500,000 worth of ranking points in the first place. I think now with the increase of what is Selby and Robertson's head-to-head, I mean, you're going to have to go all the way there. But recently, as I say, twice they've played last season. I mean, I could give you, but it's going to be like something like, 19 to 20. So let's have a look. Selby, Robertson, head-to-head. Because I think they would have played something like 50 matches in between each other. So let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, got that one right. 50 matches literally they've played. 25 Robertson won and 24 Selby has won. So I don't think that's going to give you anything. It's just they've been on the tour for way too long. It's just like looking at the stats in between Higgins and O'Sullivan. Like, it's not going to make any sense. But one thing I would actually look at, and by the way, shout out to Q-Tracker. Brilliant stuff for you to look at. Quarterfinals, they've played 12 times. Selby won 4, Robertson won 8. So I don't know if it means anything, but actually the interesting thing about it is that the further he goes into the stage, the more percentage Robertson has got of winning this one. It's super surprising. I mean, if you look at quarterfinals, as I say, played 12, Robertson won 8, Selby won 4. In the semi-finals, they played 9. So they played 9, Robertson won 6, Selby won 3. In the final, they've played 3 times. Robertson won twice, Selby won once. So Robertson has got a perfect twice as many wins in head-to-head in every single one of them, like exactly 200% there, in final, semi-final and quarter-final. How about last 16? They haven't played that many. Yeah, even in last 16, he's managed to win 2 out of 3. That makes no sense. How is he winning every single stage there, but it's 25 matches each? That makes no sense. But yeah, apparently, stats actually say that Robertson is very, very likely to win this one. And another interesting stat there, they've played 413 frames. Robertson has won 206. Selby has won 207. So literally 1 frame in it. And I tell you what, I mean, that 5% doesn't make me look smart, does it? Because I tell you what, it genuinely shows that whatever happens with form, it always seems to come across very, very tight in between it all. They've played in the Championship League last season as well, but I never count those matches as Robertson won 3-2. But, first of 3, when you've got Selby and Robertson to be playing against each other, that's not really something that you want to look at, which would make you feel like it actually gives you the picture. Now then, we are ready to... Are we ready to welcome the players, or is just that? Oh, okay. So that was actually quite funny there. What they did and what they showed on the screen was one of the players making their way towards the arena with it being absolutely packed there. And then once again, I mean, look at what's happening on table number 2. It's worse than Saudi at this stage, which is incredible because there never seems to be an issue like that in China. I tell you what, it's genuinely baffling how... I mean, there are some people on table 1. I'm not saying there is like plenty of them, you can't get a seat in there, but still. I mean, it literally seems like, you've got around 3 people on one stand and you've got around 5 people on the other stand. I mean, it may just not show the whole picture, but that is genuinely baffling in relation to it as well. But yeah, as I say, 68 now % of you go for Robertson. I genuinely think I've either pulled out an absolute ace or I've got a 2 and a 7 in a first hand, because I don't understand all the hype for Robertson. I never did in the last 24 months. Well, maybe in the last 12 months, and I never will. like he's had one good tournament. He got himself to the semi-finals of German Masters where he didn't play well. I mean, he did play well on some occasions, but got absolutely thrashed by Murphy, I think it was, or Trump. I think it was Trump, actually. No, I think it was Murphy. And then he got to the semi-finals of the Champion of Champions. And as I say, he got absolutely hammered down by Selby. I think that 6-2 was a little bit generous there from Mark to be giving him. And yeah, I just don't understand. Yes, he won the Saudi Masters, but I mean, like, that was 12 months ago. And I just don't think he's done anything significant ever since. You could probably make a decent point about Selby like that as well. But I think for Selby, for him to win a Triple Crown event, first of all, that's worth a lot more than winning Saudi. And second of all, I mean, he's also had a brilliant campaign at the Champion of Champions. Arguably has given us one of the two best individual performances, well, probably one of them for sure, in the finals of the last season. And apart from maybe Chipchaya or Zhao in the Tour Championship. But yeah, it was really good. That's sad. I don't know if the players are likely to play with audience, but China Open is deserted. Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, that, Letitia, because I think they're getting more fans into the table number one, but the table number two, it genuinely feels like they forgot to sort of say, oh, it's down to just a single table format. That's genuinely what it feels like. You've got, probably you would find something like 50, maybe 100 people in total. I don't know if I'm being a little bit generous there on table number one. I don't know if you find 10 on table number two, which there must be a reason for it. But yeah, on the question of if they like to play with audience, I think it's a mixed one, because they always say they do. But at the same time, I think they always sort of say that you will be down to a lot more pressure when you play with the audience. And therefore, does it not make you feel like you're more at ease when you've got when you're playing with empty crowds? What they did in COVID, basically, when Ronnie managed to win that 6th world title of his against Wilson. I mean, when they've had the artificial applause and stuff. But I think that was, you know, it helped some of the players who are struggling mentally with it, which I was very surprised to say that Ronnie was struggling and actually enjoying it as well. Because that obviously says that if he enjoys to be playing without the audience, then he struggles to play with the audience, which I never thought I would say, but you know, that's exactly what it was. And he certainly made that crystal clear that he felt a lot more relaxed, a lot more at ease when he was playing with no audience, because what he says is when they're cheering you on, and because there's so much support for him, there's always a lot more that you would expect from the players, and therefore, you know, it's something that you have to live up to the expectations of, and you know, it's not really something that is easy for you to achieve. But at the same time, it was still very, very surprising to see someone like Ronnie to speak out of it, because you think, well, I mean, if he's struggling, you know, what about all the other players? What about the Liam Pullen, the Anthony Kowalski, the Shego John? They got themselves into the Crucible for the first time. But let's have a very, very little quick at the draw as we now get ourselves through towards the next part of this stage. Joey Long has beaten David Gilbert by 6 frames to 5. He will play Napon St. Kam, who has managed to beat Sean Murphy by 6 frames to 4. And then at the other part of the draw, we've got Zhang Anda against Stuart Bingham, after Zhang was able to beat Chris Wakelin 6 frames to 4. And Stuart Bingham was able to provide the third whitewash of the tournament with a 6-0 win over Hossein Rafai. Mark Selby and Neil Robertson is going to be very much played at the table number one as the only other seeded players still left. So we'll certainly lose one more of them. And the question is, will we be able to see at least one of the two of them to be making it all the way to the final to play either Joey Long or Napon St. Kam? We're about to find out, as now it's finally time to introduce the players to, first of all, table number 2. And then, yeah, I mean, I do wonder if they've got any restrictions on curfew, by the way, because, you know, it's now 1950 in China, which means it would be, you know, pretty much 8 o'clock when they start the match. And, you know, Selby and Robertson, as I say, have not really been the quickest, so the match could well go on to finish at around the midnight, you would think. And therefore, you know, you still have to watch out for that particular aspect of the game. But yeah, I think Stuart Bingham and Zhang Anda is going to be an interesting match for you to be looking at. But at the same time, I think he will be looking at Zhang to try and counter punch on Bingham, because I think, Stewart was, I'm not going to say he was playing very consistent, but he was scoring really heavily there. And I think when it comes down to, if you were to choose between one of them, I would go for Bingham, because I think, I don't think Zhang played well. I think he played decent snooker against challenging Tom, but I don't think he played well against Wakelin. Otherwise, the scoreline would have been a lot more comfortable. And you can see in the previous season there, we've had 67 centuries from Selby, 58 only from Robertson, 177 breaks of 50 plus there from Selby, which shows you how many more matches he played in comparison to Robertson, and 123 for Neil Robertson as well. Interestingly enough there, neither one of the two has made a maximum last season, which is an interesting thing out there. Selby, of course, making that brilliant maximum at the Crucible in 2023. I'm not actually sure if that's one of the last ones that he's made, because it's been a while since I remember seeing Selby's face on the thumbnail of a 147 preview, but there you go. That's a little bit more like it when you've got the crowd to be pretty crowded. Not a lot of empty seats in there, and certainly anticipating a good match in between Neil Robertson and Mark Selby. So then, we're going to have to wait and see on what's going to happen. At the end of it, he will be all down to the winner to play either Zhang Anda or Stuart Bingham, which is an interesting thing there, by the way, because I would probably say when it comes down to Stuart Bingham or Zhang Anda, I mean, on one hand, as Bingham now makes his way towards the main table, it is interesting to see someone like Stuart or Zhang to be played against Mark Selby or Neil Robertson. On another note, today is the 6th anniversary of the last day of the semi-finals at the Crucible during COVID. Well, I mean, have you got any more bad news? Because I remember watching that match. I mean, it was watching those matches. I mean, that is genuinely making you feel sad. As if Selby against O'Sullivan and McGill against Wilson was 6 years ago, wasn't it? Yeah, that's incredible, that. Yeah, it does make sense, actually, because I was thinking about how can we have a Crucible in the middle of September, but of course they have the whole season delayed. Yeah, there you go. You've done well to make someone sad, but that's life for you. But yeah, I mean, a lot's changed since then. Where's Anthony McGill? Where's someone like Mark Selby? Where's someone like Karen Wilson? Where's someone like Ronnie O'Sullivan? I mean, to think that Wilson is going to be the highest of them all is actually incredible. And Wilson is the highest, I'm pretty sure. He's still just above Selby in the world number. And it's an interesting one. I know he's going to lose because he won the Xi'an Grand Prix 2 seasons ago. So, and of course, those points are going to be later on for him to defend. So yeah, technically right now, Mark Selby is going to be the world number 8, just above Karen Wilson. So that one is certainly correct. Now, let's get the party started. Finally, we are welcoming the top seeds on towards the main part of the arena, and it is Mark Selby that, of course, is going to be greeted first, as the Jester from Leicester played some really exciting snooker over the last couple of days, and some really good scoring for him as well. Long may continue, as these two, one thing I will tell you, I don't really remember seeing a match in between the two of them where there wasn't some great snooker to be played. And we're going to have to wait and see if that's going to be the case. 44 years of age for Robertson, 45 for Selby. Not a lot of difference in between the two of them. And as I say, road to the final. Chang Minyu in the first round, Si Xiaowei in the second round. All players from China, winning by 6 frames to 3 against Chang, despite having a 5-0 lead early doors. And then against Si Xiaowei, despite his opponent not playing too well, was still able to get 2 frames away from Robertson, but in the end the final scoreline was 6 frames to 2. Now then, Robertson is going to be to the left, Selby's going to be to the right. The toss of the coin is about to be done there by the referee, and then we'll see the break-off shot finally getting this match to be underway. Selby there, as usual, looking ever so calm. Robertson doesn't seem like he's going to be in a panic mode either. So yeah, as I say, for me, it's all down to Selby to win. But if you look at the way that I've managed to predict the previous matches, I think I got them... I didn't get them all wrong, because I did manage to predict Weezer to beat Yao Cheng and, Ronnie O'Sullivan to beat Jackson Page, but it might actually be the only 2 matches that I did actually predict with the right outcome, because Zhao lost in the first round, and I certainly expected him to win. Trump lost to Sankam, and I expected him to win. And yeah, I mean, genuinely, I've only got right on 2 of those matches out there, because I didn't expect Gilbert to beat Weezer. So yeah, that's fun. So yeah, and every single one of those stats there, it does seem like Selby is going to be the one to lose here, since I'm saying he's going to win. But I just can't see that happening. But it's a really good break-off shot there from Robertson. He needs to be on the front foot very early doors, and I'll say it's a really good break-off shot. Selby was acknowledging it from Robertson. Can he still try and make his way towards trying to pot the red into the corner? No, he can't. He tried to swerve around it just so he could, see enough of that red for him to be played into the left corner. Now, let's see what Robertson's decision is going to be here. Is he going to try and go for a red early doors into the green pocket? Not on this occasion. Carefully just brushing that cue ball away and onto the side cushion. In any other event, something pairing it was. But yeah, I mean, it is a little bit weird that you see Neil Robertson and Mark Selby to be the stars of the China Open, after we haven't really seen any one of them to be quite far down to the Shanghai Masters, which just shows you that sometimes things can change very quickly in snooker, and especially when it comes down to the comparison between a ranking event where you could easily see a couple of unseeded players to be coming through and playing quite well, to, of course, an invitational, which, may still see an opportunity for someone unseeded to take it all the way and come back from, probably unlikely position of them winning that particular match. As now Robertson is going to be the one trying to take a little bit of time there to think. His pairing would be in the final. Yeah, but they haven't really played in the final for a long time, have they? Because they've played in one of the opening rounds of the Tour Championship, as Robertson there could have done better on that red. And I think Selby's going to have a chance of trying to pot that one in towards the right middle. Although with Selby, you always have to be cautious with giving those type of predictions, because you never quite know if he's going to try and play for a safety shot instead. And yeah, I mean, 3 matches certainly they've played which wasn't a final. But at the same time, when you think about 9 years, 10 years ago, certainly would have expected him to meet down to the end point of the stage. But I think once again, Robertson is going to be technically the world number 1 right now in this tournament here. But of course, if he was to win the tournament, he would be the actual world number 1 because of him winning the tournament in 2019 and still being the reigning champion. So that's why he was supposedly, going to get the easiest side of the draw. But I don't think that's the way it worked out. And I suppose, what else can you think about it? Just because he had to play Chang Minyu, of all people, from the qualifiers doesn't really mean that, he got very unlucky with it. But yeah, as I say, I think this match is going to be played at a very slow pace, especially at the starting point of it. So we'll see with how much development of the position is going to be made soon. And haven't really seen any aggressive opportunities to be taken by either Selby or Robertson, but maybe they're just waiting for one of them to make a mistake. And for now, it all seems to be pretty good when it comes down to the safety shots. And once again, Selby responds quite well with playing the cue ball to the top side of the table. He was sad to see Murphy roll over so easily. Yeah, but I think you have to probably stop criticizing the players that, Sankam defeats, and maybe just have to start praising him, because, as I say, I mean, the further he gets, the worse someone plays against him, it will seem, because I think Trump, he was shut down and he didn't play well, but you can't really say that he was horrible. He just wasn't very good. Then Ronnie was even worse than Trump to me, and then Murphy was even worse than Ross Sullivan. So what's going to happen to Joey Long then is the question. And now then, something's going to happen to Mark Selby is a potential red available to him into the corner. Let's see if he gets this one in. He will. How far can he get the cue ball across the table? Pretty far, to be fair, you have to say. And he also, I think, managed to clear the black ball spot of any reds that would have been getting in the way. And now there is an opportunity of carefully trying to make his way towards the top part of the table. Just dropping the black into the corner. And make sure he's got the chance of playing the cue ball onto the red, which is played incredibly well. And I'll tell you what, he certainly seemed like he was worth the wait there for Mark Selby, as he now positions himself in a very nice, well, situation to be lined up with, because he's got at least 6 reds available. He's already managed to put one of them already and get himself an 8 points of a lead. Not really a problem with colours because of how crucial it was for him to get the reds away from the black there. Yes, the black is still probably not playable, which is what Selby's going to have a look at. But, you know, you've got 3 reds around the black, which I think individually they shouldn't be too much of a problem for you to take. And I think that's exactly something that Selby's going to be looking for right now. Whether it's going to be on this shot or the next one, we're going to have to wait and see, as he now just carefully makes his way towards the cue ball to be lined up for the reds to be taken into the right corner, the one just above the black. Murphy really played badly this morning. Few brilliant long pots, but never well replaced to build, losing hand all the time. Napoleon deserved the win. I think it's a good point, but I think Murphy's biggest problem was easier shots than he missed. And I think as Selby there plays another good shot, but, well, I mean, I say good shot, you can't really say you should have expected something else out there, and yeah, he's not going to try and test out the skills here, so it's going to be 15 points. So, basically, played the cue ball into the black, trying to get that one into the open play. They did, but sort of rolled the cue ball right over the red, so he had to bridge over it, and now there's not really going to be anything that he was going to do. So 15 points of a lead, and that will be the end of it. But yeah, I think the biggest issue for Murphy was down to, you know, he was going for all the difficult shots there at the starting point of the match, and he was making them brilliantly. But it was either a stupid mistake on the positional play, which didn't happen often, or something that did happen very, very often was, you know, he seems like he's got it completely under control, and then he misses the red, which, as I say, I mean, the problem with those to remember is that there were so many that he missed, and they don't show you the replay here in China Open, which is probably another drawback of this tournament, which is they very rarely show you the replay, unless it's a long shot like there will be now. Well, you have to make sure you show the replay of this one, because that was an absolute rocket there from Selby. There you go, there's the replay, off the ball cushion as well, and comfortably making it into the corner. Lovely little shot there from Mark, as he now gets himself yet another opportunity, with 2 more reds waiting right at the bottom of the table. So we'll see. Indeed, the pink was a disaster. Nah, it wasn't just the pink, because I'm pretty sure there was a red which he missed into the left or right corner, and I was like, well, haven't seen Ronnie miss a shot like that, and, you know, I haven't seen anyone actually to miss a shot like that easy. But, you know, the pink into the middle was atrocious, but I still don't think it was as easy as that red, that I can't really remember when it happened, but it must have happened something in the middle of the match. Something like the 3rd or the 4th frame. So, we'll see what's going to happen. As now then, there will be a chance of playing the red away into the corner here. Selby just dragging it across there to be positioned for the black. Taking towards the right corner. And just trying to force that cue ball on towards the black. Make sure he's got a chance of playing the red away in towards the left corner. He uses plenty of the pocket and now allows himself to be positioned very nicely indeed when he comes down to the red into the left part of the table. So I think this is a very key shot there coming up for Selby, because I think he does have to position himself with, you know, a placement shot of the red in towards the left corner. But ultimately, I think he doesn't need to be straight on the black, and he's a little bit too straight here, which, you know, would have to inject the pace here, but I feel like he's just going to get stuck in between the reds. He's going to have a look there if one of the reds will go into the corner. He just wants to try and run this one back there. Just play one more red. Get himself a better position on the black here. But, yeah, I think he's digging down. So he's going to have to try and make things happen here. And, well, it's a decent effort that, because he was able to put the cue ball on the string. And it's a really good shot that he's played, you have to say. Because he's still got a red into the right middle. Brilliant shot there away from Selby. Caught the exact red that he wanted to. And, yeah, just managed to do a little bit more damage with the cue ball. So let's see what's going to happen. Off the red to be taken in towards the middle. Once again, such a risky shot for you to be playing with power. played it superbly well. Being on the top side of a blue certainly would help him as well. And now just getting through towards the chance of playing the blue away. Being towards the right middle. And potentially trying to get the cue ball into the Reds. And for the Reds to be spread out away from each other. Didn't play that shot well though. And I'm not sure if he's going to have a chance to resume the break. Once again, I mean, I don't really know why. This time again, we are seeing just players taking the power away. He had to inject a little bit of extra power here. And in the end, he wasn't able to do anything with it. He's not a touching ball there. As Selby checked himself. So 28 points is going to be the break that he has. Not this one he had. Now I just have the launch snooker announcement in Eurosport. When getting back to athletics, it was a joke. Or trading pushing buttons. There you go. You can see that Letitia still hasn't lost a sense of humour, which is nice to see. But ultimately, Selby is going to be losing the control of the position. But I tell you what, if you're going to lose control of the position, you have to make sure you play a shot as good as that. That was brilliant. Placing that cue ball off the left side cushion right in behind the green. And, well, I'll be very surprised if he doesn't get any foul points or a position to him. But he doesn't. As Neil Robertson there, able to find a really good contact on the Reds. And Selby's just going to have to try and play the cue ball away on towards the left side cushion. So we'll see what's going to happen. Just trying to get the white to be running away from that red, making sure that he'll go somewhere near the green, or hopefully even in behind of it, or right below it as well will certainly help. I think there is going to be a hand of apology there from Selby, because I don't think he necessarily meant that, but it's worked out pretty well for him. And Robertson is not going to have too many of those opportunities that he personally can see, and therefore just having to take a wider line when it comes down to the reds available to him. I think the one closest to the pink on the left-hand side of it is going to be taken away to the left corner. The problem for Robertson here, though, is that he's going to have to try and, well, I mean, that was one way of doing it. And if Selby had to apologise for his previous shot, and as I said, I couldn't quite pronounce it in time there, but I was just saying that he needs to be very careful. He's clearly going to play that red onto the second red as well. He needs to be careful there's not one of them that goes over the pocket. That's exactly what happened there, but he didn't go over the pocket. He went exactly into the pocket there. And now Robertson all of a sudden, of course, still doesn't find himself to be the favourite, but certainly back in the fight there, it would seem, as he goes for the yellow. Playing that cue ball to the centre of the table here as well. Selby is a tactical genius. Well, we'll see what he's going to be able to do here. For now, just 28 and 15 points that he was scoring. I was happy they choose to broadcast snooker an afternoon for one time, and I just saw the ad. You can understand a bit of joke. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I was doing that when I was a child, actually. I was always very excited when they would do that on Eurosport, because they would show you like a preview, like, the 3-second ad where it would show the snooker table. And I'm like, well, it's an announcement for what's going to happen. And then it never was. It was just saying that it will happen tomorrow, yesterday, or, in 2 years' time. My Eurosport channel is presently showing the bicycle. That was the thing for me, as Robertson there having a very good control of where the referee is going to respot the black. Well, let's see if he can get through to the red. Seems to be very, very tight out there. So, is he going to have to go for an alternative version of that shot? Well, it's not really something that he would have been looking for, as I say. Don't really think you can do anything with those reds, so he's going to have to just try and play it safe there, it would seem. So it breaks off 15-28, and now 11 as well from Robertson himself. It seems like he will be everything that, the players can manage. So back down to the top part of the table there on the cue ball. And ultimately not really going to leave a chance away for his opponent here as well. Just a very careful brush there on the white, making sure he bounces away from the ball cushion just about enough there. But I still think there is a bit of a problem there, which could see Robertson to be losing out on the position here, because there is a plant which Selby is going to play here to me, or at least he's going to have to try and, do something about, and to make sure that Robertson is not going to get a plant opportunity like this. So, yeah, that's what Selby has done. he decided there wasn't really a chance for him to make that cue ball back to the safety, which was the only reason not to play that plant at all. And yeah, back down to a chance here for Robertson to carefully play the shot on the right-hand side of the red, make sure he's going to be given a huge bounce towards the green pocket, and just try and make its way towards the very top of the table. Put the black over the left corner or somewhat near it, but the more important question is that how many of those reds can Selby see, and I think he can see all of them. So therefore, he can also see the red, which could be taken as an attacking option for him. I think it's going to be the highest of all 6, because it would give the angle for the cue ball to just about miss those 2 reds as a plant, which is exactly what he's done. And you have to say, you know, he was very close, and he's actually undercut that red a little bit, which, you know, he undercut that one a little bit more. He would have been clashing with the reds, and that would have been a disaster. But at the end of it, one thing that Selby actually had to make sure was that he could, he overcut that red. He could undercut it, but yeah, he overcut that in the end, and you know, just didn't do enough there on that particular occasion in relation to making sure that there was safety margin there. But you know, it seems like Robertson's not really going to feel the benefit of that, because he's got 6 reds, all 6 are visible apart from maybe the one, and maybe the second one, which is covered by another red, but certainly 4 reds that he can see. And the question is, which one of them can be used for a safety? And it seems like the plant of the 2, which Robertson is going to need anyway for him to try and win the frame, but he didn't play this shot well at all. He needs the cue ball to go all the way onto the cushion, and I don't even think that that will be able to save Robertson here. Though it might be. Selby's not necessarily sure about taking that red away just yet, but we'll see what the final decision is going to be there from him. Lucky to have athleticism, so cause like Canaston Psycho after Tour de France, Woman de France, Denmark to check. Yeah, it was, I don't know if I said, but the most, what I remember watching on Eurosport, you always, every single time you flick it, randomly, you know, when you're just watching, you know, want something to watch and you're not really following the schedule, it was always cycling. It was always, I don't know why. And I could never, you know, sort of enjoy to watch it. I mean, I like racing, but I'll be honest with you, it's endurance, and it may be a very interesting and, you know, very entertaining for you to be actually riding it. But I'll tell you what, Selby there certainly rode a little bit of luck, but I don't really enjoy to watch it. And it's like, it's something for me, it's only to have in my ear somebody to be telling me if I'm supporting a driver there. But yeah, Selby, I'll tell you that he's gone for that shot anyway, and he got really fortunate with the kiss that he got off the cue ball onto another red, and he managed to play the white as if, you know, that was all planned, and he's now quite close to the yellow pocket there. But still a chance given away to Robertson of taking that red away. Going to be missed on this time around, and well, Robertson himself is going to be quite fortunate with getting a very specific part of the jaw of the middle pocket, and of course, with being the front jaw, he bounced the cue ball away towards the very top end of the table. So the scoring not being up to the full level, as you probably would expect in the first frame, but hoping that he would very much improve in the next frames to come. As we now seen Selby to carefully take that red away. When I say carefully, he nearly got himself into a black, which wasn't down to him being too careful at that stage, but worked out at that point of asking. And once again, back down to Robertson to have the opportunity of playing the red away. Very thin on the edge, and making sure he's not going to catch the second red either. And well, just as I was about to finish, making sure he doesn't touch the black as well. But whilst I was saying that, he already caught the black. And I mean, he caught it by a very thick margin as well. So yeah, Selby should be able to win the frame from here, surely. He's got 32 points of a lead, so, you know, 3 reds that he's got available to him with expensive colours. I don't think that will leave a chance away to Robertson. So we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen. But for now, Selby's going to take the first red away. He didn't play a brilliant positional play shot. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's played a bit of a poor one. Not in relation to the next colour, but in relation to what is he going to do after this colour is spotted. Because the black is an obstruction to one of the reds. I think Selby was actually trying to get himself lined up for the black there, but yeah, he may have to take, well, he's got two options there to me. He can take the green on, which is not a great option for you to choose from, but the pink is not one, it's not a great one either. I mean, what can you do with trying to roll that cue ball in towards the left corner? It just about rolls the pink in, but, you know, ultimately manages to push another red towards, even closer towards the right corner. And now it's a break of 7 points here from Selby. That he's going to be looking to try and get that red away and into the corner pocket, play that cue ball with plenty of topspin, and get himself lined up for the pink and the black. About to be taken into the left part of the table here. So I think if he gets the black away, he's going to have to try and, you know, make the cue ball go around the pink and therefore just find himself lining up nicely with a frame ball. As soon as he takes that black away, he's going to be more than 51 points clear and therefore leave Neil Robertson with a very difficult mission of trying to find snookers. And probably the best safety player of all time. Well, Peter Ebden will have something to say about it, but I still think Selby will take the edge. 48 points right now is the lead here for Mark, and yeah, he's got a chance of trying to get at least one of those reds into the open play, and that certainly would kill any sort of hope for Robertson to try and come back in this particular encounter, and he seems to have done that quite well there. So Selby is about to finish the job off with 30 minutes on the clock, about to be reached as well, of the quite a lengthy first frame, purely down to, you know, a lot of safety battles at the opening start of it, but at the end, as I say, Selby's not going to care. He's managed to take the lead straight away, and he didn't really leave too many chances away to Robertson apart from that. You know, of course, a red that he's left over with Neil. But then 31 points is the current break, the highest so far in the match, and just looking to try and extend it to the first break of 50 plus as he carefully takes one of those reds away, perfectly along the cushion. Always so much easier to be taking a red which is, you know, perfectly aligned to the cushion and doesn't really have any sort of a gap in between the cushion and the red itself. As now then, you will be down to 39 points of a break, and Selby still looking to try and get the red in towards the left corner, play that cue ball far and away from the black, just to make sure he's still going to be keeping his chances to try and make a total clearance here, which would be super impressive, to try and make a break of up to 74 points if he makes it all the way. Now then played a shot which clearly was an attempt to bring the brown into the open play, but still, look at that for a positional shot on the yellow. Absolutely brilliant. And even, of course, if he didn't manage to get anywhere near the brown, but he's still going to have a chance to do that from the green. Just needs to be, well, not quite too straight. I think he might have got a little bit too straight, but he should still have enough angle to try and get the brown into the open place. But of course, ultimately, it will be the first break of 50 plus, as he just about gets the brown over the right middle, I would say. Well, let's see if he's going to try and pot this one. The cue ball, count the cushions on the cue ball. One, well, he got the pink in the way. The pink might be able to make its way towards the corner as well, but no. And in the end, it was only 3 cushions for the cue ball because of its, you know, cardinal change off the line after touching the pink. Let's see how the long queuing now is going to be with Mark Selby trying to take that blue away. Not quite on this occasion. And unless he flukes that one towards the green pocket, which he will not, it will be a break of 56 points, which in the end does put Mark Selby to be in the lead of a single frame to nil. So Robertson still rather a little bit quiet there when it comes down to his own performance. And Selby, with a really good frame win at the start, now allows himself to have a little bit of breathing space. And hopefully for him, he should be able to try and go with that as well later on out there. But still looking at an opportunity of Zhang Anda coming back against Stuart Bingham. You know, Bingham is finding himself 29 points clear, but at the same time, he does find himself, you know, in a snooker behind the pink. So that's going to be an interesting way for you to finish the frame. Let's see if he manages to make contact on the red first. Of course, Zhang doesn't need snookers, but he still very much wants to see that red to be over the pocket. And I tell you what, it's not too far away from that being the case, but I can only think that, but I think Bingham's got away with it. The red is at the top part of the table, the cue ball. He's slightly down the table out there, so it may all come down to A very thin cut there for Zhang, if he does fancy his chances indeed, or, he's going to have to just try and settle for a safety battle, since, it's basically a battle for the red, which you still want to get there if you're Zhang, because, if you get the red in, it would allow you to try and become probably the favourite for winning the frame. But yeah, he played a bit of a, I don't know what shot there, because if he was trying to get the cue ball in behind the green, he was nowhere near it, and if he tried to bounce the cue ball away from the red, he got nowhere near it as well. So yeah, it will now be the break-off shot for Selby as we get ourselves onto the frame number 2. And ultimately still a chance here for Mark to try and extend his lead even further. Zhang is going to indeed come back to the table, but this time around he might find himself to be the player snookered in behind the pink. As we're still seeing an opportunity here for Mark to go for a break-off shot here. As I say, only 11 points that Robertson was able to score in the first frame, and Selby had breaks of 15, 28 and 56. The most interesting thing so far is that every single break that he's made has been bigger than the previous one, which is probably not going to be something that is difficult to achieve if you're Neil Robertson, but at the same time, 56 was the latest. How much is the value of the break that we're going to see from now, as Selby's finally given the thumbs up from the referee, and he's now ready to break off and get us underway for frame number 2. Let's see what's going to happen here then, as he places that cue ball to be in between the yellow and brown, just trying to get the white to be running all the way towards the ball cushion, and ultimately just looking not to give anything easy away to Robertson, but I still think he has done, and could have played the shot a little bit better. But in hindsight, he's now going to be looking at playing the red away towards the left corner there, Robertson, and it'll come very interesting to see what's actually going to happen. And he's going to be getting close, pretty much too close, but unlucky there with a double kiss. Even though, as I say, I don't really actually have a guy that I would like to win. I just got a guy that I think is going to win this thing. But yeah, that was very unfortunate for Robertson to get so close to that red, but also then, as the red bounces away from the corner, the cue ball sort of goes closer to the pocket. They met in the middle, and now it's still not an easy chance, but Selby should be able to cut this one 95 times out of 100, as he has done. But, well, I tell you what, that was a little bit weird to see. Selby has spotted the cue ball into the right middle. Always possible to do that, but I think the cut was probably too thin for you to control the pace of the whites as I thought he would be. But first foul points on the match, and they do come away from Mark Selby, surprisingly. But more importantly here, I don't think he's left anything available for Neil Robertson, although, I think he's just looking for the 2 reds, closest to the black there, and the lowest of them all. So yeah, for now, it didn't really work there for Neil, trying to hang in with those safety battles at the first frame, and at the end, we'll see what's going to happen in frame number 2 for him, because he's still got the opportunity of trying to take this match to go quite far down himself, and Selby there leaving room for referee to be seeing the position of the cue ball in case he has to go back to his space. Is this a ranked match? Of course it is. It's still very much China Open, and it's still very much down to, a semi-final spot there. But after 4 points to be conceded, there was a contact on the pink. I don't know if the referee spotted it, but he should have. And Selby's going to have to try and take that one away once again. So 10 points now, given away to Robertson from fouls. And the referee has indeed spotted the minor contact on the pink. And therefore he's actually going to be asked by Neil there to put the pink exactly where he was before respotting the cue ball as well. So that Selby is going to have an opportunity to try and retake the shot from its previous position. And referee's still trying to get that cue ball to be positioned in between those reds. Who do you think will win this match? As I said, Selby for me by a long mile, but all the people were saying Robertson. It was down to 70% at some stage. It's now 60. I think down to Selby winning the first frame. But still, I would absolutely expect Selby to win, because I don't think we've seen anything impressive of Robertson. I think we've seen quite a few impressive things of Selby. Seems to be a lot better there in terms of the line. How about the pace? Well, see if Robertson can go for that red, but I don't think he can see enough of the cutting angle there so that he can do anything with it. So I think he'll probably come down to just the safety shot to be played off the top part of the reds. Get the cue ball lines up to the top edge of the table. And now, has he left an opportunity away for Mark Selby to be taking a red in towards the right corner, which I'm not sure about, I have to say. But at the same time of asking, can he just try and get that red away into the right corner? Well, we'll see what's going to happen, but seems to be looking at a lot more at the red right next to the pink, because, tell you what, if he goes past the pink, he may go all the way towards the right corner. Let's see how close is he going to be. Not close at all. He caught one of the reds on the way, and I think by doing that, just about allowing Robertson to seeing a red that he can try and go for into the right corner. Well, he says that he can see that red, but the problem is he needs to see plenty of it for him to go for that attacking shot, but I think that's what he's aiming for. I don't think he's aiming for a safety shot. I think he tries to take that red away. Plenty of room to try and get around the black, and he's done that. Let's see if he's going to get a little bit of fortune on the bow colours. I think he will. Well, just about, but way too marginal there for it to be a comfortable shot here for Neil. I mean, he's right over the green here, which means he can only go for the brown, but the question is, does he want to? If Selby dedicating himself to any cue spot, he would be the best in the world. He's kind of underappreciated. Come on, Robbo. I don't really understand the first part of the point, because I think he's absolutely dedicated himself. Do you mean he would succeed in any sport that he would play in cue sport? So yeah, absolutely, I would agree with that, because, you know, he's a universal player, but I don't necessarily agree that he would be able to be as successful as he is in snooker. He's playing pool to... I don't think he is playing pool. Well, I mean, he was playing Chinese pool, but they were all. And I'm pretty sure he was up against someone like Robertson himself, actually. But there were way too many matches when it comes down to it. And, yeah, I just think with Selby, I think it's a mixture of a couple of things for him. But I also think, you know, he is the player. I think that he's going to be absolutely benefiting from actually having to play snooker, because you don't really see his style of play there to be so relevant in pool, even though you could exploit it to a certain extent there. But, you know, in pool you can basically get out of anywhere with, you know, not too much of a risk at that stage, because you usually find yourself having to be out of a snooker only if you are so close to a win and your opponent is so close to a loss. But in snooker it's very different. And as long as there are enough points at the table, you never quite know what's going to happen. And, yeah, really nice shot there from Selby. Once again, making sure that he lives up to the expectations of being the safety shot king. And gives the turn back towards Neil Robertson once again. So still looking to try and get the cue ball lines up to the top part of the table. Let's see if he's going to be just about able to miss the brown. Not quite on this occasion, but still seemingly going to go for a red in towards the right part of the table here, and he ultimately just try and position himself nicely lines up for a shot into the right corner. So then, playing the shot in towards the right corner of the table. Seemed like he was very quick to be up from that shot, and that's why completely misplaced the cue ball positioning, and now it's a great position when it comes down to the colours, a little bit less so when it comes down to the reds, but also there is a chance here for Robertson to go for this red into the corner, play for the pink or the blue, and get himself to be scoring some really good points on the board as well. 11 points in the first frame, 11 points in the second frame. Can he try and extend that tally a little bit further? He has been World Pool Champion. Never knew that, you know. I might have heard it, but yeah, certainly wasn't on my mind. And, well, something that is not really on Robertson's mind is snooker. I don't know where that mistake came from, but he's certainly going to have to haunt him quite badly here. Whatever you do, you have to make sure you don't miss a red like that. And, yeah, Selby here is going to be able to go for an opportunistic shot on the red. But, I mean, opportunistic is probably a little bit exaggerated, but it's not an easy one, basically, because he has to bridge over the pink quite awkwardly, but You would absolutely expect him to get the red in. When it comes down to the cue ball positioning, it's a little bit less of something that you can control, but he played it about as well as it was possible for him. Still perfectly lines up for the green, and still perfectly lines up for a chance of trying to score, his first couple of points here in the second frame. As once again, it doesn't really change. The position hasn't changed since the previous time that Robertson was at the table. There is still one more red available to Selby, and after that point, he's going to have to, start digging when it comes down to any more gems and opportunities. For now, carefully plays that shot away. Make sure he's going to have all 6 colours to be on their spots there. So I think he's about to take the red away with the blue. And Robert said last year that he was playing more golf than snooker. True for last year. Well, I mean, yeah, the thing about Robertson is that he is a little bit of a weird character in his statements, because I haven't seen that, but I would absolutely believe you. But, I mean, first of all, I've seen a clip of him saying he plays golf only at the time where he's already practiced and he just needs to try and catch up with a little bit of time. But that was unfortunate there from Selby. If he's not on the reds, he seems to be relaxed about it. But I'm telling you what, he's played a really nice shot there with plenty of power. And he got a really good cue ball as well on it. But he may have to revert back to a safety shot, you would seem. But he seems to be very keen on continuing the break. It's just a question of which one of those reds is he going to treat as available to him. But yeah, I think, I don't know what's happening with Robertson. I mean, one day he's saying he's played so well last 12 months. The other day, I'm going to trust my eye test and say obviously he hasn't played well, because I think of the top 16 he's going to be the lowest if it wasn't for the Saudi ranking points. So yeah, I just think, and also the performances haven't really shown that he's been playing well. But then, he says he's playing well, and then Letitia's saying that apparently he's played more golf than snooker, which puts another factor to the test. I mean, I'm not absolutely going to pretend. I don't like golf. I don't understand the excitement about it. And I bet it's a lot more interesting for you to be playing, to be watching it. But, probably the last thing that I'm going to be interested in. Original, I would have said. Yeah, it's just weird there, because, so many statements there from Robertson are coming out, and some of them make sense, some of them don't, and some of them that do make sense then wouldn't make sense because there's another statement that he makes, and that, all of a sudden would contradict the next statement that he would make. So O'Neill's social media is practicing golf there, but he is a true pro and wouldn't be neglecting his practice. Yeah, but do you believe in that? And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe in that. And in relation to, can you try and sit your bottom on 2 chairs? I don't think you can. I believe that you can be playing golf in your spare time from practice, but I mean, I don't know what to say here, because you're playing an extra sport there, but according to some of the reports, you're basically spending... Okay, let me put it like this. According to himself on various other interviews, and also his social media, all the followers and stuff and everything, and all the journalists, he plays just about as much of golf as he does with snooker, which to me doesn't work at all. Because he can't be a professional in snooker and playing 32 hours, for example, in a week. I don't know what he does, but 32 hours, for example, in a week. I don't know. I don't care. And then play 32 hours of golf in a week. And yet you're the world number 2 in snooker. I mean, yeah, it's true, actually. You can't really say anything against him because he is the world number 2. But once again, coming back to the same story, which is going to be relevant to 4 of the other players. Where would you be without Saudi ranking points? And the bottom line is that Trump would still be at the top right now as it stands. Williams would be nowhere near to be seen of the top 10. O'Sullivan would be even further because he'd be out of the top 16 if he would lose the Saudi ranking points, which he will at the next season. So he needs to make sure he puts a little bit of work in. If you're talented, maybe so. Yeah, I think... Yeah, but... I don't really believe in talent. I believe in discipline. And, if he's spending as much time practicing golf as he is of snooker, then I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but surely it can't be used as a great thing either because, as I say, if you're doing 32 hours of golf and 32 hours of snooker, one is a hobby and one is your professional work. So I just don't really feel like that sticks. But as I say, I'm not really providing an alternative, or I'm not saying very directly that why is this wrong, because, for me, a counterpoint would always be that out of those 32 hours for golf, you could lose at least 12 for practicing snooker. But I suppose, you can't just literally put him in a cage and say, keep on practicing when he's the world number one. So I suppose, it's up to him, but I just don't think it's going to work for him in the long term. Snooker just arrived on my Eurospot. There you go. So the cycling is clearly over. Someone has won, someone has lost. And Mark Selby right now is looking at a couple of races that he's got available to him. Both are extremely time-consuming, so golf surely would take something away from his form. Then again, maybe he needs to clear his mind from snooker right now. It is true, but once again, as I say, for you to clear your mind of something, I can't imagine anyone of the top sports people, and I know snooker is a little bit different, but I can't imagine Hamilton be playing as many hours of FIFA or, just, I don't know, playing tennis with his dad as much time as he would be spending in a simulator trying to get ready for the new track on the calendar there for Formula One. Or, alternatively, when you talk about boxing and you spend a lot of time in camp, and yes, you may need, to take your mind off things a little bit, but then you're not really going to have enough time in life there to be spending just about as much time for practice as you would do for one of your hobbies. He also keeps on mentioning that, he's now a lot more focused on the life of his kids, which would be time consuming as well. So you just feel like, where does golf fit in all of that? And, of course, that's purely speculative and it's completely up to him and it's his decision to make. I just think that I disagree with him dedicating as much time to snooker as he is to golf, if that is very much the case, which I'm not saying that it is guaranteed to be. Athleticism Europe Championship for me, and I prefer much more. Well, there you go. You've got a couple of options there. Someone that has got a couple of more options as well is going to be Mark Selby. He's now ahead by 51 points with 51 remaining. So once again, he's about to win the frame with Robertson having exactly 11 points to be scored. So it doesn't seem to be a lucky number. And yeah, now an hour in officially, of course, since the match was supposed to start, and we're getting through the opening two frames. So it seems like we're pretty much on track for it to be back to standard and back to normal. There's the break of 68 points. Remember, Selby has started this break with 0 points, and it's been a while since we've seen a century break on stream. Obviously didn't do any streaming yesterday, which I apologize for. Couldn't. Was too busy, but, I say too busy. It turned out to be a bit of a pointless trip in the end, but I had to make that trip. Oh, that was a little bit weird. Selby can't believe what he's done there. How on earth has he managed to play the cue ball to try and get that red away from the side cushion, but just didn't manage to get any contact on the red? There is genuinely around 115, 110% of the cue ball width there in between the cue ball, in between the side cushion and that red, as the green is going to disappear towards the right middle. So there's still a chance for Selby to try and keep the break going. And yeah, somehow, through that 115% out of 100 being the width of the cue ball, he was able to squeeze it past it. But what a shot that is from Selby to keep that break alive, and now to get himself lined up for an 80 points of a break, trying to make a century here for him, and still looking to try and accelerate away from the black on towards the yellow. Decided to play the shot the other way and just concentrate on bringing the black home. But once again, the angle was always going to allow him to just drop the cue ball in behind the yellow, and now position himself still to be lined up for the green, taken into its own pocket. But also, all the goal stuff is because he's away from family in China lately. That is a brilliant point. And once again, of course, that is, yes, that was down to me a little bit, because I think the part about his kids that he mentioned was down to him skipping a couple more tournaments than he would have done in the past, because he wants to try and spend some time with them rather than, having spending more time with them whilst he's actually playing, which wouldn't make sense because his family can't physically travel with him for the whole calendar year of snooker. Something that you're supposed to be smart enough to understand, but that wasn't something that I didn't understand. So anyway, Mark Selby has been on fire so far, and as I said, every single time he's had a break, the next one has got bigger. For now he's had 15, then he's had 28, then he's had 56, and actually he's very close to making it the perfect maths test, because 15 doubles is nearly 28, 28 double is 56. So now, is he going for 112? He's going for 114, so not quite, but still, will look very nicely for him indeed, as now he gets the black in towards the left corner, and he is going to be able to finish off with a fantastic break of 114 points. And as you can see, it is a little bit of a demolition job out there. 213 points for Selby, but C for consistency for Neil Robertson. 11 points in the first frame, 11 points in the second frame, but ultimately it's not quite going to be enough there to challenge Mark Selby, as he now finds himself being 2-0 down, and Selby very much in fine flow when it comes down to scoring some good points, and now looking to try and get himself even further away in towards this gap getting extended even further. Let's have a look how we're doing based on Zhang and Bingham. Bingham has won that frame, which still feels like takes a little bit longer than expected, but Zhang is now on the attack. 24 points was the maximum that Bingham was able to score, and now 37 points later, Zhang is looking to respond with his own performance here at the table, looking to try and get it back down to one frame each. So, as I say, it's down to Selby to try and maintain that lead of 2 frames to 0. And as I say, even though the stats might tell you one thing, I think the form is always more important. And that's exactly why I would say that we're still seeing Selby to be as the favourite before the match has started, but especially now since he's put himself 2 frames clear. And looking forward to see on how far we're actually going to get ourselves through. And lined up towards the first part of the table. As by the way, Joey Long with that win in the match against David Gilbert has now put himself into the world number 20 spot. I mean, he could be a real threat for the top 10. Remember, Joey Long hasn't got any of these points to defend for 2 years ago. So he's basically got this season to be as a clean sheet. I'm going to check that, because I can't quite believe it. So he's got 55,000 for this season. So his end of ranking should be at 300,000. Something like that. Is that true? 237. So close enough. Close enough, yeah. Incredible. Incredible that from Joey Long. And of course, some of the other players are still going to find themselves in a very comfortable position out there by the end of the season, as we're going to see, massive changes at the top. For now, as it stands, Trump is going to drop to the world number 6, which means even though, you might not lose these stages as the world number 1, because I still don't think that Robertson is going to be anywhere near winning the tournament. Probably a little bit down to pressure as well, but mainly down to his game not being good enough, I think, at this stage. I think he's going to have a really tough time of trying to keep up with that 1 million points. Because, as I say, he's got 600,000 worth of points to defend. And I don't really understand where that's going to come from. I mean, he did win a couple of tournaments in 24-25. But let's actually have a very quick look. Judd Trump wins titles 24-25. That would have been 2 seasons ago. So let's have a look. Professional results of Trump. Once again, Q Tracker. Semi-final of the World Championship he lost to, so that's 100,000 worth of ranking points. I mean, I don't really want everything, so let's have a look. Where did he get the furthest? Okay, so he won 2 tournaments. He got to the final of 3, which included, of course, semi-finals of 3. Okay, so sorry, it doesn't include it, actually. So he's had 2 wins, 3 finals, 3 semi-finals, 3 quarterfinals. Tell you what, he's got plenty of points to defend out there then. And yeah, he won 73 out of 93 matches that he's played, which is incredible consistency yet again. Now then, we're going to have a break-off shot from Robertson, which is going to put Mark Selby a little bit on the back foot. But I'll tell you what, it was a little bit close for comfort there, because Robertson would have been looking at that red into the right corner to be taking, but not quite on this occasion. Final will be best of how many frames? 19. Can I find the info in the wiki? And after what Gilbert said this morning about all matches to best of 11, I don't. No, Letitia, no. As I say, I can tell you right now, you're gonna see every single final this season is going to be played to a minimum of 10 frames, including the home nations, which are always played first to 9. Every final is going to be played, and pretty much every single final, actually, I can tell you, every single final will be played first to 10 frames, apart from home nations and apart from the Crucible. So that's hopefully going to make your life a little bit easier, because we've seen already a one-off of the Shanghai Masters, which is the only tournament that will be played to 11 frames, the only match of the whole season. Not different. So no, it's not different. But you know, it's, think about China Open as if it was the Masters or it was the UK Championship. You start with the first to 6, as Robertson is going to start with -4, and could he start with a free ball as well? Oh, I tell you what, he will start with a free ball, and also I think you'll have to play the shot away from the green there. I don't think Selby will use the free ball. I mean, he might. So, sorry, Selby was the one that got 4 points. Tell you what, Robertson could do with a little bit of luck there, but he didn't get any there. Free ball out of nowhere. So he's going to ask him to play from here. Well, obviously, if he's not going to be playing the shot himself, he's not going to, prevent Robertson from having this wonderful opportunity of having to play right from behind the green there, which is a nasty position. And yeah, so the only tournaments that are not going to be played, they're not going to see the final to be played first to 10, are going to be the English, Northern Ireland, Welsh Open, Scottish Open. So those 4 plus the Crucible. All the rest are going to be seeing a final to be played first of 10, best of 19. So under very much a usual format, China Open including. The only thing that I thought about was this Zhencheng Open, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same thing as the Xi'an Grand Prix, so they shouldn't change the format. Although one thing I do hope they change is bloody moving it from Monday to Sunday, which was the stupidest thing ever. Can you imagine having a final on the Monday? Yes, I know you got that at the Crucible, but it's a bank holiday. So, but so stupid that it was in the Xi'an Grand Prix, where he had a match in between Williams and Murphy to be played on Monday, which was stupid, but apart from that, it wasn't too bad. And Robertson, 2 minutes later, by the way, whilst I was going on about it, let's have a look how Zhang and Bingham are doing, whilst Robertson is still trying to draw the lines in his head, and maybe just trying to give him an SOS sign of help, mayday, whatever. But he's not going to find himself in a nice position. Jaganda will, though, as he's managed to recover after conceding 24 early points in that second frame. He was able to score 65 points and counter Stuart Bingham and win that second frame. So it's now going to be down to Zhang 1, Stuart 1 as well. So then let's see what Robertson has decided to go for. He needs to hit the cue ball onto the red very much from the bottom. He's hit it sideways, and that's not going to be adding any good news to his particular mood, as it's now going to be down to Selby to get himself back to the action. Ball spotted, by the way, 60 from Selby, 5 from Robertson. Well, we've seen comebacks and we've seen gaps bigger than this to be overturned, so I'm not going to open my mouth too wide, but you do wonder. I mean, this is exceeding for now even my expectations of what I would expect to see. As by the way, Selby, I mean, that's brilliant for him. High IQ, always brain switched on. He managed to get himself lined up on the colour, but not only on the random colour, he got himself lined up for the black brilliantly well, despite the black being covered up by 3 reds at the same time. Referee there seems like he's a referee in a boxing match. He's trying to look out for any fouls out there. But of course, with the fair play of Selby, you may as well not need the referee at all. And Selby played a brilliant shot there to get even more reds into the open play, get the cue ball into the open play. And this is the Selby that for now, I would absolutely enjoy watching more than any version of current Ronnie O'Sullivan. I was absolutely skeptical every single time I was watching a match last season of Selby until I realised, well, hold on a minute, there's no reason to be skeptical. He's played a brilliant final against Trump. He's played a brilliant final against Trump twice, actually, in the Champion of Champions and at the UK Champ as well. I will never, well, I may forget it, but I'll still remember that brilliant fair play moment from Selby where the referee was saying that Selby has a free ball, which would have killed the frame off at a very, very big gap already. I think it was 5-2 or 6-2 to Selby in frames. Trump was, saying that it's not a free ball. Selby comes to the table and he says it's not a free ball. So 2 against 1, overruled the referee and that cost Selby the frame. I remember that very clearly because he was on the verge of winning that frame away, but he genuinely made that decision, although it was super close. I remember saying, I can't see whether it's a free ball or not there, but Selby was adamant. He cost him the frame, and he won the match anyway, while showing some brilliant sportsmanship out there. But, he won the first 2 frames, whilst having Neil Robertson to score exactly 11 points in every single one of those occasions, so we'll see whether how well he's going to be able to get through this particular performance now, as he plays the brown towards the green pocket, getting that cue ball to keep on running towards the right side cushion. Doesn't want to be too close to it though, and he will be just about as close as he possibly can be. So, I'm not going to say desperate, but which type of those 3 reds is he going to play for? 2 into the left corner, 1 into the right. 1 into the right, of course, is going to be taken along the side cushion. And that way he's going to play for the black. But I think he's going to go for the more sensible approach. Well, I say sensible. That red is difficult for you to pot there. But once again, that's going to make the target. And he will. And it's now going to be Mark Selby with 26 points of the advantage. 22 as the current break value. And once again, being able to recover, he's going to prove to be very costly there for him in relation to his opponent. As he now plays the cue ball now once again to the side cushion, but doing that on purpose this time. And not being lined up as close to the side cushion as he was last time around. So should be able just to, I say should be able to. I don't think he's got the angle to hold the cue ball. And also the bridge seems to be a bit of a problem. So not quite as easy as it could have been. As he decides to take a step back there. Something that I would never do. Because of how tense and impatient I am, but it's something that you should always be doing when you're uncomfortable, just so that you don't get over angry with yourself, and Selby's absolutely the example of that. Now he's got himself 34 points clear. He still will play slightly for the black, but was always going to do that. So not the easiest raid that he's had to take previously, but once again the black into the corner, which he's going to be able to take, and now hoping that the raid into the right middle would be good enough of an option, because I'm pretty sure that's the only option that he has to himself. He's got a couple of raids in the open play, but ultimately he's going to be limited just to one of them to be taken in towards the right middle if he fancies it. Who does the winner of this match play, please? Either Zhang or Bingham. On the other table, the scoreline right now is 1 frame each, unless some of them have managed to beat the record for the quickest century break by Ronnie O'Sullivan, and already managed to get himself a frame on the board. The fact that he made a century in 3 minutes will never cease to amaze me, as is Mark Selby. Once again, a brilliant find there on the reds, carefully squeezing that one in past any bit of contact with the front jaw, using plenty of the backhand jaw as well, and now being lined up perfectly on the blue, which will allow him to use the black ball cushion and get the cue ball with a huge bounce to be positioned for one of the easier reds. Actually got too much of a bounce, which I don't think is going to be crucial, but certainly could have done without it, especially since he's going to have a red in the way. So those 2 things may actually take it from a 10 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10 shot, but still could not have played that any straighter into the center of the pocket. And well, listen, if I was afraid to be making any comments about this at 2-0, I don't think I'll be scared of saying it. I told you so here I just don't believe all the hype of Robertson here. I genuinely don't. And I don't understand why he's going to be speaking so highly of himself, which he was, saying he's played so well last season. I must have been watching some different snooker there. That's exactly how he played. I'm sorry, but as soon as he got a good opposition player playing well against him, he always crumbled. Whether it was a semi-final, quarter-final, apart from that Saudi Masters, I genuinely don't understand where he was playing well. But it's down to him to make that judgment call. And I think he got himself through to the semi-finals of the UK, where he played well. And I remember that he did play well in the UK, but when you get to the semi-finals, is that really something for you to be proud of? I think Trump has said he's absolutely fuming with himself with losing the finals to Selby in the UK Championship because of the way that match has gone. And, that's the mentality that you want to see. The only way you're going to be happy with yourself is that you win a tournament, especially when you talk about the top 10 players. I mean, if that was Joey Long that beat Ronnie O'Sullivan in the first round of the UK, which he has last season, brilliant. No questions asked. But if you talk about Neil Robertson saying that he's played well, and the best that I can think of him was at the semi-final of the UK, I just don't really understand what that's all about. He's missed a lot of tournaments due to health issues at the end of the season, if I can remember. Not really. Because I think he qualified for all of them because of the Saudi ranking points. Which he's not going to have the luxury of this season, by the way. So he's not going to qualify. He qualified for the Tour Championship, where he got absolutely thrashed by Trump. Players' Championship, I can't remember. But I reckon that's because he lost very much in the first round. I know he was withdrawn from the... No, he didn't withdraw from the German Masters. It was Chang Minyu that withdrawn against him. As Selby there gets himself to a frame ball. So let me just finish the frame here and then I'll have a look. Because it should still tell you his previous results from the last season. Can Selby get on the pink or black? He can on the black, no problem. So he should be able to continue the break and in his hopes to make it a second century break. And remember, every single break that he's made has been higher than the previous one so far. The highest is 114, so that's very much the target. And he's now going to be looking to try and extend that target as well. Tell you what, if he genuinely manages to do that for a couple of more frames, it will be the most incredible thing that I've ever seen. I mean, look at the referee again. So it genuinely reminds me of boxing, when you can't get a proper look at them. You're doing some allowed shots there, but referee, I mean, fair play. I mean, I'm not saying anything there, but he's certainly taking his job very, very seriously out there. Looking at a potential foul from Mark Selby with his arm, but of course he should be able to do that because, Selby's not really going to be focused on where his hand is going to be, especially the bottom part of it. So that's exactly what the referee's for, joking aside. 84 points on the break. And still getting the opportunity of trying to get that century break on the board. Now, this is the point where he has to make the red right, and he will. But he's underplayed for the black quite massively out there, even though it may seem like he's right next to it, but he's still lower than the potting angle of the black, which means he's going to have to play the cue ball into the red, and this is going to be the end of that brilliant sequence that I really enjoyed, that every single break of Mark Selby has been higher than the previous one. This time, he'll end on the break of 85 points, which is still more than 7 times higher than anything that Neil Robertson has produced. And it's, Neil Robertson 0, Mark Selby 3. A very one-sided quarterfinal so far, as we have seen an hour of the action. And it's now back down to the 4 frames for us to see, to witness another opportunity for Robertson to be playing quite well, or Selby to respond with his own break building skills and just try and make sure that he will be all down to him to be the man taking that almighty 4-0 lead into the intermission, which at this point does seem very likely indeed. Bayern, by the way, in the other match, 55 plays 1 in relation to the points, made that 56 and made that 61, as he has taken the red and the blue in a very quick sequence. And still having a look at the scoreboard think he has got himself past that point of no return there for Zhang, so he will be down to a man from England leading the man from the rest of the world. Very much back down to the 4 frame again, but of course it's going to be a different scoreline. 2 frames to 1 to Bingham, and 3 frames to 0 to Mark Selby there when he comes down to Neil Robertson. What's the next tournament? He will be down to the Wuhan Open, which should actually see everyone, for now, to be still looking to compete in that tournament. And I think he will be, apart from Mark Cullen, of course, who has withdrawn from the first 3 tournaments of the season. I don't think he was supposed to play in the Championship League, which would make it 4 first tournaments of the season, but certainly out of Shanghai Masters, replaced by Lisowski. Out of the China Open, wasn't replaced by anyone, just received a walkover for Hossein Maffei, which didn't really help him in his attempt to beat Stuart Bingham, and might have actually just compromised him because he didn't get enough practice out there. And ultimately, it was just not enough when it comes down to his recovery to be fit for Wuhan Open. Whether it's down to physical, mental, the only statement that you can get off the WC saying that it is for personal reasons. Who do you think will win the next one? Well, I was done pretty well to say that I had Zhao or Trump to win Shanghai Masters. And I did say for this one, I just had a very weird feeling that nobody would win it out of the 4 players that you would expect to. Being Trump, Xington, Weezer, and 4th one being Murphy. And so far, I got that one wrong. So far, I got that one completely right. If I was to make a prediction before the start of the tournament who was going to win it, I mean, it's incredibly difficult. I probably would have said Karen Wilson because of how well he's played in Shanghai, but not after what I've seen against Aaron Hill. I knew that performance against Selby was going to come in sooner rather than later. Which was the last tournament which Selby won? UK Championship and Champion of Champions back-to-back. As Robertson there gets the first point on the board since, the start of the 2nd frame. With a really good long raid that he's taken. Can he get through past that 11 points mark, which so far has been the maximum that he's seen once last season? Yes. So he's had 2 wins and 1 semi-final last season. I don't think he had anything else. Yeah, which is incredible, actually. The fact that we haven't seen Selby through to the semi-finals for, more than 3 tournaments, but he's done really well to win 2 of them. But I think it's a similar situation for Karen Wilson there, because I think he got to he won Shanghai Masters and he won the Masters of the Triple Crown. But was he in another semi-final? As Robertson there takes a very wide line on the red. So this is a shot which will take him beyond that 11-point mark, which so far has been out of reach for him when it comes down to total points scored in the match against Selby. But it just seems like he's a little bit emotionless there, Robertson. No, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but he seems to sometimes have plenty of things to show with his face, with his body language, but it just seems like he's not really feeling too well. That, once again, that's purely speculation from me. Didn't Selby win the British Open last year? No, he won it the year before. Because I was there, and I was actually seeing that Murphy was able to come back very late from Anthony McGill, and he was able to win that match. The only ranking tournament that we weren't streaming because, as I say, I was there. Wilson or Ronnie to win the next one? I think no chance. As I said, Ronnie is not going to win a ranking event. You have to deal with it, and the earlier you realise it, the better it is for you, especially if you're a Ronnie O'Sullivan fan. Trust me, I've gone through that phase myself, and I'm very happy to be cured of any sort of hopes. Even when everyone of the top 4 apart from Robertson was out, and I knew that Robertson would get knocked out, I knew there was going to be someone which would stop Ronnie. He simply does not play good enough. But Wilson is the biggest what in snooker right now. I mean, Trump wasn't the greatest in his match against Sankar, but he's got a trophy to show, and also, he wasn't the worst, let's be fair. Wilson has gone from being, how did he not beat Trump, or how did he not get closer to Trump in that final, to what on earth was this against Aaron Hill, to what the swear word was this against Mark Selby. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to Wilson, but he seems still to be very much on team positive, which is good. But I don't know what happened to him. And yeah, he's genuinely gone from probably my pick for the player of the tournament of Shanghai, if you ignore that Trump has won the tournament there. But I genuinely thought Wilson played better than Trump. And I genuinely felt that because of the opposition and because of his comeback spirit. But I think of the top seeds, he's played probably worse than anyone in this particular tournament. I mean, you can put Mark Williams in there. You can put Judd Trump in there, but I still think Trump played better than anything that Wilson has managed. But that's, once again, very much my subjective opinion. Something which is going to be factual is that Robertson has actually managed to get one more red available to him after going into the pack, which now makes it 3 of the ones that he's got available. Make that back down to 2 as he puts one of them. I would never select Wilson to win a tournament. Not now. I would, if somebody told me that he was going to play as well as he played in Shanghai, but oh, that is unlucky, or is it? Can Robertson go for a shot in towards the left corner? Play the really nice split of the pack, but I don't think, no, that's not going to work. He's got a shot into the middle. It's not an easy one though, in relation to potting the red, but also getting on the colour, but he certainly got a shot which he will take. So yeah, let's see what's going to happen here with Robertson. Is Ricky Walden still playing? He is. But I would struggle to tell you when was the last time we've seen him late into the tournament stage. I think he reached the quarterfinal last season, but I would be lying to you if I told you I know for certain. And yeah, I just don't know. I'll be honest with you, I'm just not really sure if anything like that has happened. But yeah, I think he was. I'm trying to think. Was it the German Masters? The red is going to be missed there by Robertson. Well, a little bit of emotion. Whether he felt like that was... It certainly wasn't a funny golf swing then that he had. He was down to something went wrong in that shot that he felt. I don't think he can be fade because he played that shot with too much power. But, well, the question is he going to get away with it on this occasion? And by the way, what do you think about the trading cards that WST has launched? Is anybody going to care? Because let's talk about it after the shot though, because this could be the frame winner for Selby. If he gets the red in, he got the red in. Where's the cue ball? Well, yeah, I mean, that's horrible on the blue. I think that's well, I don't want to say no chance, but I think that's no chance he's going to be able to pot the blue, which leaves it down to green or yellow if you can see enough past the blue there. Yellow is easier, because it's easier for you to plan that rest away, but it's not quite the shot which will win him the frame. But I tell you what, as soon as he gets himself perfectly on the red, I say hello to 4-0. Can he make this yellow in? We've seen comebacks from 3-0. We haven't seen one from 4-0, and I don't think we'll see one here, because to me, that was the frame-winning shot there. Even though Selby's still 25 points behind, his incredible consistency, his incredible ability to concentrate on those shots was always a point for admiration. And I think if you combine it with an easy position ahead of him, I don't think there will be any chances of Robertson to be coming back to the table before the start of frame number 5. Ricky was in the qualifiers of China Open. No, he was. But what I'm saying is, has he managed to get himself to a decent stage of any tournament last season? Because he's still the world number 45, I think, or somewhere. I think it was the German Masters. For whatever reason, I'm thinking of the Tempodrome, and I'm thinking of the German Masters there, which gets associated with Ricky Walden. I'll have a look for you, and I'll dump it in the chat as soon as I found it in the intermission, if I don't forget, which I can't guarantee. As we're now playing a red away towards the green pocket. Let's see how close he's going to be able to be towards the green, and he's actually going to be far enough from the green so that he can see the brown. So that's now top part of the table sorted. So the only thing he has to worry about is the quantity of 8 reds at the bottom half of the table. Still spread very nicely indeed, especially if you remove a couple of the ones which are going to be called loose reds. I think you'll get easier and easier for you as you get further in this position. Because there's going to be plenty of reds which are getting in the way of each other, but there are also going to be plenty of reds which you can take in a very nice sequence, which will allow you not to be touching any more difficult ones. And yes, I think for the percentage-wise, 99 for Selby to win this one, and I'm not even joking. If it was someone like Ronnie right now, I'd probably say 80, but, Selby's consistency and his ability to finish off frames like that for me is one of the best players on the tour. Not even right now, but always in the lost against Selt. Well, tell you what, he could not have done any worse out there, you'd feel. Selt was celebrating scoring a point there against Murphy. So Ricky would have felt, would have done a little bit better there, because one thing about Walden, though, he never seems to lose matches by a huge margin, though, does he? No matter who he plays. I'm not saying he wins a lot of them, but, I can't really, and you're going to tell me that he lost that match to Selt by 6-0 or whatever, but I don't really remember him losing him by 6 frames to 0 or 6 frames to 1. It just seemed like he's unable to actually find himself to be winning those type of matches. As is Robertson. I mean, good news is he's improved on that 11 points of a cutoff, but I don't think that's going to boost his chances too much of winning this frame. As Selby there, just taking plenty of time in between those shots and just making sure he's actually going to be concentrating enough there on trying to get the red in towards the left part of the table, get himself lined up for the black, and the break of 28 points, which is going to be the highest that Robertson has managed. He's not even going to be in top 4 there from what Selby has managed. As you can see, that consistency of 70.8 as the average break, and I would expect that to increase by the end of this particular break. Selby's still got 5 reds ahead of him, so that's an opportunity to score 67 points, and he's just about good enough there for a century break, which of course he's not going to be bothered about at all. Even though I'm saying he's going to be able to win this frame comfortably, he still needs to absolutely concentrate on trying to get the frame ball in, and then he can think about, if he's still got enough points at the table, try and make it the second century of the match, and make it the third break of 85 points plus. Now then, an opportunity to play the cue ball back towards the black ball spot here. I think he just needs to remove all these reds before getting through to the cluster of the 2 reds, which might actually be impacted a little bit by the pink, but I think he should eliminate the pink as well. For now, he's clearly going to approach this one. Well, I mean, I can't say clearly because I can't see what sort of angle he has got on the black, but I think he will play for the red in towards the right corner, just the one above the pink. And he's got plenty of angle to try and get around that red, so may actually try and take that one away towards the left corner as well, then take the pink, and at that stage, he should have the other 2 reds available to him. Alternatively, of course, he could go for, trying to separate the reds away from each other right now, but, I mean, you're going to be inviting one of them to go onto the side cushion, which I don't think is something that Selby would want. But he has left himself a little bit vulnerable here, because it's a stupid position. He's got 3 reds all to be in a good position there, but the pink is going to be covering the other 2. So he's got to take one of them. And the alternative is he's got to remove the pink there, whatever he does. So he's got to change something. He can't play for another pocket. I mean, he's thinking about going for the blue there, but I do wonder how he actually ended up in this situation, because it seemed like he was all very nice, very nice, very nice, and it sort of got bad, really bad in one shot time. But I still think he'll recover, but he just might have to play the cue ball in towards those reds right now. He decided not to be doing that, and I think that was a mistake, because he's very straight on the blue. So he's certainly going to have to forget about any chances of a century break here, but I mean, I would still consider taking the pink into the right corner, because that's about as much as you need. Because you remove both of the problems at the same time. You've got the angle to position. Well, he's not even thinking about it, so the question is, what is he thinking about? Putting the brown safe? Or trying to pot the brown? Yeah, he's going to try and put the brown safe. Surprised that. And that's certainly going to mean that he's not going to be able to improve his average break of 70 points. But, of course, it's not down to him. Neil's so stupid today. I just think he's outplayed completely. He's had his own mistakes, but I don't think there's been many of them. And, yeah, that's a perfect line, by the way. It's an absolutely perfect line. Millimeter to the left or the right. That is dead center on the cue ball to be positioned right behind the blue. A long way off there, but perfectly behind it. Now, it's a good shot that from Robertson. Is he going to be good enough? He will be to put the red safe. Brilliant shot there from Neil. And all of a sudden, putting the brown there was very much a needed action there from Mark, as he's looking to make sure that he plays this double badly enough there on the pink, so that the pink is not going to disappear towards the right corner, as he still finds himself 23 points ahead, 43 at the table. So the work is not quite done yet. And as I said, he needed to be cautious of not potting the pink. In the end, he was quite close to that, but the pink is still going to stay at the table. And Robertson, well, I don't think it's the time to go for reckless shots, but I don't think it's time for advice from me, basically. I think it's Robertson who's going to be the decision maker. Can he take this red along the side cushion whilst playing the cue ball to the top part of the table? But part of me feels like that was something that Selby wanted him to do, because I think he knows the result. Yep. Exactly, he's gone for that red, he missed it. The red is now going to go all over the table, and he's going to get away with that one. Is he? Well, to an extent he will, because the red is not going to be potable, but I still think Selby, with his brilliant cue ball control and his brilliant ability to find a really good safety, will be able to put the cue ball right behind the blue there because of how close the red and the blue are. Or something that I didn't see was that the red goes past the blue. Finally, they show you a different angle. Well, there's no point then. You have to go for this red, and you have to pot it. Exactly what Selby's done. Once again, you genuinely feel he left that red along the side cushion to be taken on purpose. That's what you know, when the camera switched to Selby, and he was getting a bit of a smile on his face. Not a massive one, but a little bit of a smile. I just felt like, what if he genuinely left the cue ball there, so that it's just about good enough for Robertson to consider taking that red on there. And then, you know, surprise, surprise, he takes that on, misses it by a mile, and Selby responds with a break of 3 points and counting, and a break of 5 points will be enough there for him to win this frame, because he ain't needs any color right now, and he's going to be more than 27 points clear. And therefore, a 4-0 lead for Selby. He's going to be very much here, out for delivery. And Robertson is going to be, as I say, on the receiving end of it. Once again, yet another frame. In your top breaks column, you're showing that Robertson's third highest break is 1. How farcical for the world number 2. I mean, for a second there, I thought you were saying something that I've done wrong, but unfortunately, that's the case. I was actually thinking, when I was doing this thing, whether you should show the breaks that are going to be less than 5, but I thought, well, if a player has got a break which is higher than 5, then he shouldn't show a break which is less than 5, so it's not really a problem which you would expect to have. But yeah, I mean, how the tables have turned, I want to actually see that myself, because I know he's got breaks of 11, he's got breaks of 28, and what is going to be another one, not long to see, as Selby there extends his lead to 42 points right now. And I mean, he should score as many points as he can here, because it may just be the most dominant win over Robertson in the first 6 that he's ever going to get, because of how well he's been scoring. And, you know, he's had a century break, he's had a break of 85 points as well. And now he's about to make it a break of 30 or 37. He wasn't really bothered about the black, as he still nearly potted it, but not quite on this occasion. He will be a break of 30 points out there from Mark Selby, and it is a break which is going to be more than enough there. As you can see, 50 points that Neil Robertson has scored in total of those first 4 frames, and he's had breaks of 1, 11 and 28. You can give him a round of applause. I'm not sure he deserves it though, as Selby brilliantly played, very much a tactical masterclass, didn't really give a sniff away to Neil Robertson, apart from when Robertson was working for that himself in that 4 frame, for example, where he was able to create that 28 points of a break completely on his own. It didn't really help him though, as Mark Selby is going to go into the intermission whilst leading by 4 frames to 0. Robertson's got it all to do, but you feel like it is Selby has got it all to do, with him being a lot closer right now towards semi-final. And this is where I took my 5% for Robertson. Unfortunately, that's exactly what we've seen over the last 12 months, ever since the Saudi performance, which was by far the highlight of the season for the Australian. For now, stay tuned in for 15 minutes time. We'll be back as the intermission is going to end. And hopefully we'll be back in time as well to see more action of Robertson, but hopefully plenty of more good snooker from Mark Selby as well. Apologies, let me sort this out. There we go. Stay tuned in, everyone. 15 minutes time.
Traveling mountains just to find the loudest tears. We set down by the fire, knowing we couldn't hide, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I remember the ocean, memories die out too hard. But we were traveling mountains just to find the loudest tears. We sat down by the fire, knowing we couldn't hide, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been finding ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been finding ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
Lions roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop the way. Birds jumping and I hear my name, grasping into a life. Life is happy but it's so insane. We must merely make a start. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah. Lion's gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. just one. Kids across the lane. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah.
Right then everybody, let's get back into the action and let's see on if we are going to witness that formidable and for now a very much a mythical comeback from Neil Robertson. Is he going to be the end of his chances of trying to get to the world #1 spot before the end of the Wuhan Open, or is he going to have to try and outscore Watchalong when he comes down to that particular tournament, which is going to be more difficult. As I said, the benefit of this tournament is going to be down to, you don't have any points to defend for now. You can only try and gain them in comparison to the opposition players. But it wasn't something that we had to worry about for too much, as the intermission is now over. And let's see on what is it going to be down to, as Neil Robertson has had a break-off shot. He didn't play that one particularly well. And straight away, you could see Selby having a 4-0 as a cushion will certainly help, but I think he is going to be looking at trying to take that right away into the corner. He didn't get it on this attempt, but of course, something that he can say that Robertson can't really use it to himself is that I will get it next time there, you would feel. And for now, it is down to Robertson to try and cut the red away in towards the left middle and make sure that he has put himself within that window of trying to place the white on towards the side rail of the right hand side of the table, but once again needs to actually drop the red in. He played that with very little force and very little power, but at the same time he's now going to find himself to be within that window of trying to score some good points here on the board, and still looking to try and make it past that break of 28 points in the 4th frame, which still was very much down to his own work of a brilliant long red, but he just couldn't quite hold on to that one for too long, and he's had to play a shot which will leave the yellow to now having to be played. He needs to get a good kiss off the blue, and I don't think he got that good kiss. You can see there, he was excited there for a second, and then his hands nearly dropped. So, a break of 3 points, and is that going to be the end, or is there going to be one more red in the middle of the table that he can try and play? Well, there is one into the right corner, but good luck trying to judge the potty angle, but also the position of the cue ball. So let's see what's going to happen here then. And, well, the red is going to be missed is what's going to happen. Pretty fortunate there not to leave a chance away to Selby, as the hand of apology will go up, but you just feel like the inevitable here. I mean, Selby just allowing Robertson to get himself back into the chance, but only scoring 3 points out of it is the most Robertson thing today. And no surprise that Selby's not going to be looking for any dodgy kind of shots to be taken into the green or the yellow pocket. And he's just going to try and play one of those reds away towards the very top of the table. Probably needs to try and get rid of that red at the right part of the table there. Or, of course, alternatively, if he fancies chances to try and get cover on that red, he could always force Robertson to be the man under pressure, having to defend that red very much just like Selby had to. And I'm pretty sure Selby got that one spot on. There shouldn't be a gap in between the blue and the yellow, which means there won't be a gap to go for that red at all. So it's a good shot there from Selby once again, making sure that he sort of turns that disappointment for that split second into a bit of an uprise for him. And, well, Robertson there taking that shot onto the cushion first, which was always going to leave a chance away to Selby. And you feel like this one might just edge it there for Selby. And I think he'll go for the shot into the middle. And I'll give you more than that. I think he'll made it in as well. So we'll see if he's actually going to attempt it. Because if he will, I think there's no chance that Robertson is going to be coming back to the table anytime soon. Let's see though, he's certainly trying to work out the position of the cue ball, which sometimes would mean, I mean, it's not a simple way to get that cue ball past the yellow there, which is the only thing you have to be cautious about. He decided not to be taking that red into the middle. So let's see if he's taking any aggressive shot at all. No, he won't. And well, he put himself under a lot of pressure there out of nowhere. A bit of a weird one from Selby because, he tried to... yeah, he says he caught that one, didn't he? So I don't think anybody's going to argue with Mark Selby. So apparently he says he caught that red, which I don't think he did. But okay. I don't think it's going to change anything apart from 4 points not being given to Robertson because it's still a red over the corner, so there's no chance that Robertson would have given the position back towards Selby. The question is he going to get himself on the collar? Not on the... Well, yeah, actually. I was going to say not on the black, but he's actually on the black as well. But I think the color that he'll go for is going to be the blue. Being up 3-1 against Zhang. Thank you very much for that, Letitia. Forgot to check. But I did actually check about Ricky Walden. The best performance that he had was the 1/8 of the final of the English Open, which of course was the 5th round of the English Open because Home Nation starts a round earlier for you. So there you go. He's made a 1.37, he'd said, in the Xi'an Grand Prix, which was one of the highest breaks. And I think that was the only achievement that he had in the previous season, apart from, you know, you didn't lose in the first round of the qualifying rounds for the World Championship, but I don't think that's something that Ricky will be too proud of, as he beat Mateusz Baranovski by 10 frames to 4. Meanwhile, Robertson, of course, is going to have to try and beat Mark Selby by 6 frames to 4, which is not going to be an easy thing for him to achieve. And, well, as I say, the 200 percentage on every single one of those stages there, starting from the quarterfinal and finishing from the final, starting from the last 16 actually, where, you know, if they played 3 matches, Robertson would always win 2. And exactly twice as many as Selby would have won, but it does seem like that set will have to come to a bit of an end here, at least at the quarterfinal stages. But Robertson will, you know, try and fight back for as long as he can. The question is, how long is he going to be able to? Not for long with shots like that, because I think that was fortune. I don't think that was something that he played. Way too little power and way too accurate. He had to play that shot from, you know, for him to be lined up as good as this. But, you know, maybe that was the part of his plan, although I very much highly doubt it. Robertson there just trying to eke out as many of those reds as he can for himself without having to get the cue ball right into the bunch of them all. So we'll see what's going to happen here. And for now, there will be a black taken towards the left corner. Plenty of backspin here on the white. And let's see just what can he manage on the positional shot. Well, he's clearly played for the plans that he was looking for previously into the left part of the table. So let's see on what is he going to be able to produce here then. For now, decides to put the plans into the further draw there than the one that he's going to open here. We're taking the red away into the left middle. Being top side of a blue will certainly help. And now just trying to go for the reds into the left and the right corner of the table for now. I don't think he's going to be looking at a chance of potting the plans for the foreseeable future. I think he's, if anything, I think he's about to disrupt the plan completely and bring hopefully a couple of those 6 reds available to him out of the main plant, which, you know, seems to be shaped in a star there, although it is positioned slightly towards the right-hand side of the table. So that's how you've got those 2 reds to be positioned so close towards the left corner, but at the same time, I think, you know, you surely have to go for the more realistic case scenario there, which is going to be just smash the reds away from each other, and surely that's going to work here. And he got 2 reds for the price of 1, which may have been calculated there by Robertson, but I don't think that's going to be something that he's going to be too happy about. But certainly another red that he doesn't have to worry about. And now positioning himself for the blue. It could well be one of the smoothest breaks that we're going to see there from Robertson because of how, you know, nicely the position was lined up for him. But let's see just how many points is he going to be able to score there, because it was the same position basically as to the one where he's only scored 3 points earlier in the frame before he ran himself out of position. As I say, nearly ran himself out of position on 17 points as well, because I would not believe that he did intend to hit that red very much specifically from the bottom right angle on that particular red. Otherwise, he's out of position completely. So, you know, he got away with that one, in my point of view. But apart from that, didn't have to avoid any more difficulties so far. And now 46 points later, 83 at the table, finds himself within that 50% zone and still looking to try and improve on the reds at the left part of the table here. So just trying to get the cue ball lined up towards the top part of the table, but I mean, doesn't want to be on the lower side of a blue, which he won't be. You know, this is probably the only part of a frame where he might have to play some precision shots there, because I think he's running a little bit low on the easier reds available. I still think he's got one more that he's probably very likely to get in behind of right now, but that red won't be enough. Whichever colour he takes, he's not going to be able to have 67 or more points of the advantage. So he's going to have to try and do something with the remaining 5 reds. 2 next to the pink and 3 more next to the pink spot, but separately away from each other. So I'll probably say with Robertson, I think he would be all down to a chance of playing the blue into the right middle, getting in behind of that red, in towards the right middle again. And yeah, well, my genius plan would have been to try and play for the black, but I'm not sure if he's got the angle to go there. And also, I'm not sure if he's got the angle to be very much comfortably top side of a blue, which probably would force him having to go for the black. But if he goes for the blue, I just don't really know what he's going to do with those, right? So I think it makes sense that he's going to try and play for the black. Plenty of backspin, and just needs an angle. He will get an angle. Not too much of it, though. So he still thinks about trying to go for that red above all 3 of them, next to the pink spot. Well, I don't really understand what was the discussion all about then. If he can go for that red in the first place, he could have... I don't really know what the thinking was about there, but maybe he's just not sure about taking that red on. But what would he play then? It's a little bit of a mixed signal back there from Robertson, but in the end, it's certainly going to be a frame that he wins. So better late than never. And I think it does remind you of the champion of champions that he had, because I think he was a couple of frames down. And now, ever since the intermission, he's now able to put a little bit of life in himself, and maybe to finish off with a century break as well. Although the body language doesn't really suggest that. Seems like he's running himself a little bit low on the red that he was playing for. And ultimately still trying to get the white away from the right side rail. And in the end, he's not actually going to end up touching it completely. So then it's a break of 66 points, and Robertson is still going to be in the fight. Albeit just about hanging on there by the skin of his teeth, because he's not going to be in the real mix for the win unless he gets himself down to 4 frames each, I would say, which is not going to happen in the next 2 frames or so. And it's probably very unlikely to happen in the next 3 frames as well, because, you know, for Selby to lose 4 frames... It's one thing for Robertson to lose 4 frames, but for Selby to lose 4 frames in a row, especially since he won 4 frames first, I think it's something pretty much on the edge of imaginary world out there. But something that is not on the edge of imaginary world is going to be a century break here from Neil Robertson. And after he started very slow, with a break of just 3 points out there, he's now been able to pick up the pace. And 79 points later, he finds himself only 6 shots away from making a century break, as he feels he needs to go for an extension on the queue to try and get through to a red towards the left part of the table. Still, doesn't seem like that extension is going to be good enough for him to actually reach the target. So still going to have to go for an actual rest, which, you know, you can see there how badly players want to avoid taking that unnecessary thing to them, but at the same time, it's still going to be more than good enough for Neil Robertson to try and get his hands at the table and carefully roll that red towards the left corner, making sure he's still got some sort of angle on the black. And then, as I say, in now 5 shots time, he should be able to make it the 2nd century of the match. And by far, the biggest break in the match as well, if he does make the total clearance out of it. When I say by far, it's going to be something like by 10 points, but still, it's going to be higher than that 114 for a total clearance from Mark Selby. Yeah, it's going to be 122 he's looking to play for right now, as he's looking to get the black into the left corner, the penultimate time in the frame, which gets him down to 95 points, so add 27 to that, and that's how you're going to get, not sure what happened there, there you go, 27 points, still out for grabs there for Neil. And the interesting thing about it is that, of course, he started with 1 red taken, and he only took 2 colours there. It's taken only 2 colours with the blue and the black there, which probably once again suggests that the position was quite a straightforward one. But at the same time, I think it also suggests that he was very consistent with it himself, and now able to just finish off in style with a break of 104 points here, as he gets the green and brown in a very quick sequence. So as I say, can he try and be the leading man in at least one of the departments there. He's still going to have more than 200 points of a deficit there towards Mark Selby, but ultimately he is about now to make a break, which is going to be higher than anything that Selby has produced in the previous couple of frames, as he now rolls that pin carefully towards the right part of the table. And even though he's going to be way too high on the black, it doesn't really matter. 122 or 115, it's still going to be the highest break of the match, and he will be a total clearance. So Robertson is able to make that black go into the left corner, and well, as I said, better late than never, and it's exactly the start to the second mini session that Robertson would have needed. The problem is, he's still probably is not quite going to be enough there to make up for the negative start to the first mini session, and therefore he's still got a very long way to go until he gets himself right back in the mix of battling with Mark Selby for the win of the match, and not just for a separate frame win. For now, that was just a consolation frame, as Stuart Bingham and Janganda are still battling away for the start of the fifth frame. So we are very much, we were very much, I should say, tied on them, but now we have stormed a little bit far ahead there with Robertson getting that first frame of the second mini session away, and Bingham, I don't think, will have enough power in the cue ball to reach the reds. So Zhang will get 4 foul points, but I don't think he'll get anything with that as well. And meanwhile, as I say, Selby's still going to have the lead of 4 frames to 1. After a very dominant first mini session, he will take a mighty comeback from Neil to try and come back into the match a little bit more. But, I think the more realistic question is with which scoreline is Selby going to beat Robertson. I think right now 6-2 probably looks like the most likely outcome, but at the same time, we'll have to wait and see if that will actually turn out to be the case. Because Selby's still going to be the favourite to win 2 frames before Robertson wins 2 frames from this moment on. Because I think Selby would have not really taken that frame lightly, but I think he would have refused a couple of shots which he could have gone for. And, with that a bit of an unfortunate mistake on the fade or whatever it was, where he left the red over the corner, 122 points later, he certainly was punished for that mistake. And, Robertson now is going to try and improve on that and very much go from bad to better. But as I say, he's got a long way to go until he's going to be a contender and a challenger to Mark Selby for that place in the semi-finals. And I think this time around it will be Selby to break off. So hopefully for him, of course, he'll be able to get himself a nice little starting point there. But still looking at Robertson and still looking at the target ahead of him there. I don't think Selby's probably going to be, the person to panic here. I think he knows that it was going to happen sooner rather than later, and he wasn't playing for a 6-0 win. He's playing to get himself through to only the first semi-final, I want to say, of 2026. I never actually realised that. UK and the Champion of Champions still happen in 2025. So I think Selby is going to get himself through towards the first semi-final there. He would have got to a quarter-final there, you would feel, in the Players' Championship or in the Tour Championship. I can't remember which one it would have been. But, I don't think he was in the semi-finals. In fact, I know he wasn't in semi-finals in 2026, which is surprising, very surprising, but at the same time, it is just the way that his season has gone there. Had a peak in the middle and been very quiet before or after. Decent break-off by Robertson, safety shot, I should say, from Robertson, and Selby right now, once again, not even considering to be going for a long red, or is he? I mean, he seemed like he was, I don't think he's playing this shot at all. Or is he? No, I think it's just a cross double, I was going to say. But it's a little bit tight to be taking a cross double like that. But Selby managed to make it work for himself and jump the cue ball perfectly well on towards the ball cushion. So now then, a chance for Neil Robertson to, do whatever he wants to do. Whether he wants to try and split the pack away from each other. Whether he wants to play an answer safety to what Selby has done. Or whether he wants to try and go for attacking red. I think each of those 3 options, apart from the last one, is going to be a sensible thing for him to do. Because I think when Selby plays the safety and he's going to be relatively content with it, I think you've got absolutely no chance of going for a long red. if, as I say, everything has gone to plan on Mark Selby's previous shot. And so far, 95% of the time he has gone according to the plan, and that only slip up that he had in the previous frame is going to be the only reason why Robertson is not losing by 4 frames to nil, or 5 frames to nil alternatively. Had that red over the corner wasn't taken, or of course had he been punished for missing that red after making a break of only 3 points. And well, Robertson making a horrible mistake, whether he was down to fade or not, whatever he was, Selby, by playing just one simple, I want to emphasize, safety shot, has put himself right back in the paradise of options. And the paradise of options is only going to be 2 reds to choose from, but still, it's going to be paradise of options in a situation like this there, because these 2 reds are the only option that Robertson would have had to leave Selby, and he's left both of them. I think it's no surprise that he'll go for the red in towards the right middle here, just to carefully position the cue ball for a shot off the blue, taking that red away rather so smoothly. And well, I think the question doesn't really need to be answered here on what is he going to be looking to do. I think he's going to have to try and play the cue ball in towards the pink. 4-1 lead, still more than enough margin for error, and I don't think there's going to be any errors here. And well, I'll tell you what, there might have been. You know, the second red that Robertson has left to Selby, I think that was the reason why one of the reds hasn't gone into the left corner. Let's have a look on the replay very quickly. Nah, he would have been wide. To be fair, that was just dramatic from me. That would have still been away from the pocket. But anyway, Selby doesn't have an easier shot now, but he should have plenty of options if he just manages to get past the black, the pink, and be on the blue, which he will be perfectly well. And he's now got one of the best positions that he's had in the entire match available to him, which I still think is very funny. Is probably still worse than what Robertson had in the previous frame, but it just tells you, you never know what chance is going to come towards you. You just have to be there when it happens. And certainly what Selby has done so far. And as I say, that's probably why, you know, I prefer the longer format of matches, because you're always going to have frames where you can't really do anything about it. Robertson had a couple of frames like that. I think the second one and the third one and the first one as well, if you look at the points tally. But yeah, I think it's probably down to, you know, the more frames you play, the more opportunities you're actually going to have those, you know, tight frames, whereas it's just not down to whoever gets themselves to be starting well wins it. It's down to, you know, trying to have that swing in momentum and ultimately just trying to play better in those moments where, you know, you may actually be struggling to find a little bit of form. Certainly something that can't be said about Selby so far, though. Will be my favourite for the whole thing to be won. If he does get past Neil Robertson here, which he should at this stage of the match, being 20 points clear in frame number 6 whilst having a 4-1 lead as well. But you never know. You know, if it was 4-0, it would have been a lot more confident, but you're probably going to be 25% less confident now since that previous break from Robertson, because you never know the response of Selby or any other player. You can always be, you know, just making a simple mistake, which we would not have seen beforehand, and all of a sudden, 4-0 becomes 4-2. As he's desperately trying to find some sort of angle on the red to get the cue ball past the jaws, and nicely lines up for the black, which is exactly what he's done. So, mini awkwardness there recovered in full extent. And yeah, I think this is the perfect position for practice table. It's quite awkward, but if you think about it, it's really, really not. And very nice shot there from Selby. And what I mean by that is that you feel like you've only got one red, but then you pot that red, another red becomes available. You pot that red, another red becomes available, and it all goes in a pattern in a very clear sequence. And the best thing about it is that all those reds to start the break with are going to be right next to the black, which leaves you only with 2 targets to do. Leave yourself on the top side of a red and leave yourself on the top side of a black. But also you can, you know, if you don't do that, you can always recover whilst, you know, now he's not on the top side of a red. So what he has to do is just carefully make his way towards the black and just get himself lined up with a straight line. Another shot to be taken, and then he's got a red available to him into the left corner of the table to be taken as well. So it does actually remind you quite badly of what we've seen of Mark Selby against Wilson, because I'm pretty sure there was one of the frames where Wilson responded in a manner which was very similar to what Robertson has done. And I actually am pretty sure he was after the intermission as well, when he was 4-0 down there, Wilson. So, yeah, Selby just seems like he doesn't really care who's against him now. He just seems to be playing very much ahead above both of these two high seeds. And another good shot there, getting the red away. Probably compromised that particular red, but I think he's now allowed himself to be seeing a red into the right corner. And not only allowed to see it, it's going to be the red which he's about to play, because he's got a very nice line to use this red to bring even more reds into the open play. And that might be the only time where he has to play any more positional, where he has to make any changes to the position, I should say, and play it into the cluster of reds with the intention of hoping to land on one. I think from this point onwards, he can just try and pick his way through and make sure he doesn't do anything silly and just concentrates on all the shots that are going to be ahead of him right now. So he's right now on 50 points of a break. Once again, taking his time there, no rush or no point to be thinking about being late for a train. That it doesn't seem like he's going to have to worry about anyway, because he will be, looking to try and stay in the city of Taiwan and hoping for himself to get an opportunity here for the black to be disappearing towards the right corner. But ultimately, playing that cue ball away and on towards the red, taken into the left corner or right middle. Once again, at this stage, he's going to be spoiled for choice. I've given you two options. Right now, he's thinking about going for the red into the right corner as well, which is going to be an option number 3. The only shot that he doesn't have on is a shot into the left middle, because there's not going to be any reds in between the cue ball and the left middle right now. They're all at the right part of the table, but not for long, as it seems like Selby's coming for all of them. 59 points of a break, and Selby might have thought, you know what, I've been going so well in this match, and all of a sudden Robertson has made a century break, which is going to be better than anything that I've done. That's not really the way that it's going to work, and hopefully I'll be able to respond with a break which is going to be just as good. And for now, as you can see on the points, certainly doing everything to do that. 141 still be on the line there, but ultimately 67 points is the difference between Selby and Robertson, and ultimately 67 is also going to be remaining at the table. So it's a great chance now for Mark to get himself only one frame away from the ultimate target of this match and get himself through to yet another semi-final. He's had 110 ranking event quarterfinals. I only know that because I've seen it on social media yesterday, but you would have thought he's got around 70 of those, well, 65 probably, to be transitioned into ranking event semis as well. So we'll see with what's going to happen, and we'll also have a look at how Bingham and Zhang are going to be doing on the opposite, part of the arena. Looking to try and carefully take that blue away in towards the left middle, make sure he's played it. And once again, I did mention that Robertson was only using the black and the blue on his previous break. Well, that's exactly the match that Selby has found as well, although he's now dropped out of the 140 bracket. Since he's used the blue for the 4th time, he's now going for a 139 being the maximum, but I don't think he's going to care about that one bit, as he's got rid about the frame ball a long time ago, and now he's about to make it his 2nd highest break and 3rd highest in the match as well. Still looking to try and play probably for the black here, you would have thought. No, he's trying to screw it back towards the blue here, so still focused on trying to make it the 3rd century of the match. And even though it's not going to be in the 140 anyway, he may as well use the blue one more time just to make sure he actually gets the result that he's going to be looking for, which you would think is the highest break achieved in the entire match here. As the referee there just barely keeping up with the pace of Mark Selby. Seems to have certainly found his own pace, and seems to be enjoying himself as well, as he's now going to find himself only one shot away from certainly making it three centuries in the latest 4 frames, I would say. I think Selby made the century in the 3rd frame. Robertson made one in the 5th. And now Mark Selby is going to make it a break of 102 points. I don't know if he's on a red though. So the highest break being with Robertson may still be the case. I think he's got that one lined up into the yellow pocket though. So Selby hoping to get another trick away from the Jester to be showcased to the public. And you can see as he very carefully and slowly turns his body around to play for the black, even though the red hasn't even reached the pocket at that stage. So 10 blacks, 5 blues, 15 reds, and a break of 110 points out there from Mark Selby. So still looking to try and get himself lined up for a shot on the yellow to be taken. So as I say, still looking for a 137. Not quite a 147, but still going to be very decent. You know, when you think about the positional difficulties that he had to go through, the fact that he had to use the blue 5 times, but didn't have to use the pink once, is very interesting, you have to say. But at the end of it, he will be Selby with a perfect result for him in the frame number 6, and he'll be hoping for exactly the same result as the one that he achieved against Karen Wilson in a previous matchup of beating the reigning Masters champion by 6 frames to 1. He now gets himself through and lines up on towards the pink. So as I say, he'll beat 130 with the pink and 137. So for now, I think he's already managed to beat the previous best by Neil Robertson. But ultimately, you have to also say, you know, the frames are not, and the matches are not really won by century breaks. And as you can see, 5 of those breaks are 50 plus there by Mark Selby, only one of them, which turned out to be a century break by Neil Robertson. And it's a second century there from Mark Selby that completes, you know, for now, the annihilation of Neil Robertson, leading him by 345 points in total. And still, you know, seeing that 122 not being enough now to be challenging for the highest break of the match. Zhang Anda, though, is still battling his way to try and make it a competitive spirit against Stuart Bingham, as that 5th frame seems to be taking a long while for them, as we're about to find ourselves what could potentially prove to be just 1 frame away from the resolution to the 3rd quarter final, and therefore Selby with a really good opportunity of trying to make it down to the showdown through either Zhang Anda or Stuart Bingham. Sorry, not home anymore, so more listening. Absolutely fine. Don't worry about it, T-shirts. As I say, it's not quite, it's absolutely full house. But anyway, absolutely appreciate every single one of you that has been tuning in. And yeah, listen, I think it was always going to happen on one of those matches where you would expect Robertson to be very much playing for that world number 1 spot, but ultimately playing for the title. He is the reigning China Open champion, but it doesn't seem like that fact will stay there for an awful lot of time, as we await for the break-off to be made there by Neil Robertson. And then he'll be down to Mark Selby to try and pick out just one more chance that he needs. And at that stage, I don't think there'll be any doubts that Selby will be able to put that chance to bed. For now, there hasn't been any chances that he wasted when it comes down to having a good enough opportunity and not winning that particular frame. And even though, if you look at their pictures, it doesn't seem like they're interested. Selby seems to have been absolutely switched on at all times there when it comes to his particular performance so far today. But that's why it will be extra interesting to see who's going to be playing Selby in the semi-final if Mark does indeed able to find at least one more frame for him to win in the remaining 5. And realistically saying that he should be able to do that without further complications there, you would feel. Now they're just looking at the referee as he's about to give the cue ball back towards Neil Robertson. It'll be his own break-off shot, and it could well prove to be the last one for a while here in China Open, as he was going to have to wait till next season, he would seem, to try and get himself another title. But for Selby, you know, being the only player that has won a ranking event, in comparison to Sankam and Joey Long there, but of course we are going to have Zhang and Bingham, which have won the ranking event out there. So, you know, one of the players would not have done that, and we'll see them in the final, but the other player, of course, would have done that quite a few times already, unless you talk about Zhang, which I'm pretty sure has only managed to do that once. Or actually, I'm not sure if he's done that once, as Robertson there, as Selby, I should say there, plays a very weird shot, and I think he got away with that one, but that was very weird from Selby. I was a little bit surprised that, you know, he was taking that red on anyway, but as I say, he certainly got away with that chance, and yeah, mistake here that doesn't really cost Selby too much. I haven't really seen too many of those. As I say, the only mistake that we pretty much seen was the one that gifted that chance away to Robertson of scoring 122 points at the table. But I mean, the funniest thing about Robertson is that It shows that his average break is 75 points, but purely because he's only had 3 breaks above the point of 10. And, well, that's interesting there from Neil. His average breaks still seem to be a little bit higher than what we've seen from Selby, but as I say, only 2 of those breaks have actually qualified to be above the threshold. And, well, I'll tell you what, 2 bad safeties in a row there from Selby. It might snow today in China, because that's exactly what we've seen. Followed up, of course, the first bad safety by a really good safety shot from Robertson, but at the same time, you still felt like Mark was going to be able to do a little bit better there. The position is not ideal at all, but Robertson should start somewhere. And, of course, it's down to the colours, which is the biggest issue. The pink and the black for now are out of position. He might try to play for the black in some time, but don't really feel like he was planning to miss that red by so much. And once again, just showing he's not really up to the speed there. And even when he is, you know, the tyres don't seem like up to temperature. It just doesn't seem like he's in the right boat there, Robertson. And, you know, I know we haven't seen him play his best snooker against Chang or Si Jiahui, but I think we haven't seen him to be that bad. I think it does remind you of that performance that he had against Zhao Xington, where he just wasn't playing well at all and didn't get a frame on the board at that point. So then, 2 mistakes from Selby in a row. If 3 of them happen, I would believe in a comeback possible there from Robertson. But I think the chances of 3 mistakes happening in a row, although I was about to say are about equivalent of Robertson coming back here, but Selby clearly feels he needs to try and take the cue ball into those reds. But I tell you what, talk about a mistake. He could not play that shot any better if he tried it 100 times. And even though he's left the red to the left corner, it will be impossible for you to get a good position on the colour. But I think we're maybe past that honeymoon period with Neil Robertson. He just needs to go for something. And that something is not going to be a great shot that he played. And, well, asking for trouble there, I would say. But alternatively, you have to say Selby did put him under colossal pressure. And there wasn't a lot that Neil could have done. But looking for a cross double, to me, which of course is a different angle to what he can see, always seemed like it was going to be a double kiss. And he was. So now, Robertson had a chance like that. Red, of course, was a little bit further than the pocket, but we'll see if Selby is able to utilise his own opportunity and play that cue ball away towards the top part of the table. As I say, the same thing is going to apply to him, where the position is very much far from an ideal one. The black and the pink are out of position. The black you can get on. The blue is still out of position as well, but in a possible position, but probably unlikely to go for it here, because you'll force the cue ball to go further up the table rather than forcing to go down. And an opportunity here for Selby, as he has a very careful look to see what's going to be happening with the red on the left part of the table. And it does seem like he's either going to have to go for a rest shot or an extension. He'll go for an extension there. And seems like he is going to stick to the option of going for the green. As I said, I think whenever we have seen an opportunity taken there by Selby, he's won every single frame where he scored a point at. So, you know, we'll see if he's going to be able to preserve that stat. Of course, he's only, you know, not been able to win one of those frames, but still, the fashion that Robertson was able to win that frame certainly deserved a little bit of admiration. But I don't think that shot from Selby deserved a lot of admiration. I think he was quite fortunate there to end up at the red, on the red at the end of it, because of how close he was to dropping the cue ball towards the left middle. But as I say, I don't think he relied on luck too many times so far today, and therefore he deserves a little shine of it there. Now then, just looking at an opportunity for taking the red away to the right corner. Once again, I mean, it's an interesting shot, this, because depending on the way that he approaches it, he could try and get the cue ball onto the black, which is exactly what he's done. And now the question is, how comfortable is he going to be for playing the black away? And the answer seems to be here with him. Not often you see that. Points 5, break 5, frames 5 as well. And how much would you give Selby out of 5 as well for his performance? Certainly 5 out of 5 or 12 out of 12. As going to be the count of points. Still looking at a potential couple of difficulties here, because he got the black into his own spot. Now he needs the cue ball to be hammered away from those surroundings of red, in a very awkward position there because he's got two reds, one more difficult than the other. Of course, he's not going to be thinking about holding the black here, but Selby will win. Have you read the script? Pretty much late to say that, but it does seem like that's the likely thing to happen, although you never know. We've seen weirder things have happened, although I'm not sure actually. You always say we've seen weirder things have happened, but has a weirder thing happened than Mark Selby being 13 points clear with a great position ahead of him, set up by himself? No mistakes so far, apart from maybe one misjudgment in the previous frame and one in this frame as well. Have we seen him blow away a 5-1 lead? We probably have. I can't remember one. And if I did, I'd probably put it on the wall. Because, I probably wouldn't have to because it's so easy to remember. Because it doesn't happen very often. But still looking to try and carefully take that red away with very little power there on the cue ball. Making sure he still stays on the black to be taken away into the left part of the table. Selby played very well today. And once again, a very good statement. Nothing to say apart from that, although I would say he didn't just play very well, he played the best that he could possibly do against a good opposition player. And I think he absolutely deserves any sort of victory, whether it was 6-0, 6-1 or 6-1, as it seems like he will be, although he has put one of those reds away from the open space, which he probably would still have needed there in relation to this particular frame, which you're supposed to be doing. Just take it on a frame-by-frame basis. Still plenty of work here for Selby to do, but purely when it comes down to the experience of how well he's done so far in the match, certainly one of his best performances of the last 8 months when it comes down to the calendar year. Rather than taking it on a season-by-season basis, he didn't really have a great match against Joey Long, but he didn't play badly, and you could still see a revenge to be working out in his favour if both he and Joey Long are able to get themselves through to a final. I'll tell you what, it will be a very long match to be watching there. Does anyone remember the semi-final in between the two of them at the English Open? 5 hours it took. I'm pretty sure that was the longest stream I've done so far. 5 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah, I have to say, and I remember very clearly I wasn't feeling too well, and I was absolutely no mood for it, but tell you what, you need to be absolutely making sure you've got a pillow right next to you and you've got a lighter in case it gets too dark and way past midnight. But so far, no real need for it. A pleasure to watch indeed, absolutely. So it's been a little bit less than 3 hours since the match has started, but of course it started at 12:50 in the UK time. So it makes it just over 2.5 hours, which is light work there for Selby, if it is going to be the end, as he's just over-analysing anything that he can see, because, surely it's simple enough that he's played a brilliant shot to get those 4 reds away from each other. He's now got 5 reds ahead of him, which will be more than enough for him to be lined up with a frame winning break, as it didn't really need to play that far away for the pink, but it's not like it's going to be something which would be playing up on his mind too much. He's got plenty of reds to choose from, and all he has to do is to carefully stun the cue ball a little bit closer to those reds and just choose one which looks the best for him, whether it's going to be down to the colour, the shade, the position, the pot success, or whatever he wants to do, or just a lucky number 4 for him. Which, of course, you think about all that race for the world number 1, Selby is going to be right in the mix there if he does win this tournament. I think he would be very, very close to someone like Weezer, if not passing him, which just shows you how much of a difference maker this tournament could prove to be. 250k of ranking points, not even talking about prize money, could be a massive game changer there, whether you are the world number 128 or you are the world number 1. The problem is, neither of those two are here, but someone that is still here and looking to be the only top 16 player still standing is going to be Mark Selby. After a 6-star performance, he's now won 5.5 frames, and he's only going to find himself 3 shots away from making it towards the frame ball, which of course will turn out to be a match ball as well. Needs to be very precise on this particular red, as he has left it down to 2 reds to be up there for close company, but he clearly feels there is going to be a gap for him to squeeze that cue ball onto, and think he played for that one just about well enough. And as I say, 2 more shots, and then the match ball is going to be very much ahead of him. But of course, especially if he takes the black right now, he doesn't have to settle for one more shot that he needs to play. He will be down to the black to make him 68 points clear, and yet another frame. The third one, I'm pretty sure, where Robertson won't score any of the points. So 3 out of 7 of the frames that we've seen where Robertson didn't score any of those points. And of course, the only frame that Robertson has managed to win was the frame where Selby didn't score any points either. Can say Selby already wins 75%. Well, in this match, you can say 100% to be precise. But if you talk about the overall tournament, I think we've seen enough upsets for you not to be so sure about it. Selby is going to be by far the biggest favourite on paper, as the referee once again has a little look to see what's going to be happening with those reds, as Selby's got his hand right next to it. But at the end, yet another high value break there. Confirm Selby win. Absolutely has won 6 frames to 1, and Neil Robertson is going to have to try and become the world number 1 at Wuhan, because so far today, I mean, I did say Robertson is going to be completely outplayed because of him not playing well enough. I think if Robertson turned up with his best form, I don't think he beats Selby. I don't think anybody beats Selby today, genuinely. And I'm talking about Prime Ronnie. I think maybe Prime Ronnie, if he gets himself into the good long shooting point of view. But apart from that, as I say, out of 5 stars, it is genuinely about as high of a mark as you can give over to Mark Selby, as he gets himself. I mean, in the first to 6 match, he's got the breaks of 83, 85, 117, 137 for Mark Selby. I'm not even going to mention some of the safety shots that he's played. So the shot that got him into this position, by the way, for the frame, when I said him making 3 mistakes in a row is about as likely as Robertson winning 5 frames in a row. What he does, he plays the shot from the cushion. He makes me scared for him because I'm like, well, what are you doing there? He plays a fantastic shot. Robertson plays 1 shot more in the whole match, and the break of 90 points very much is there to finish him off there. Selby, keep it up. Well done. Congrats, Selby. Well, he's through, and he's going to play either Zhang Anda or... sorry, I got confused by such a brilliant long raid that he's taken along the cushion that I forgot who Zhang Anda was playing there. Of course, it's Stuart Bingham. Can he make it 3 centuries out of 6? He'll be perfect ending there. He still needs a red to be away from the side cushion, but if anyone can make it today, it is him. Yeah, he's going to try and play a shot on towards a double. I think he's going to have a look at. I don't think that red goes, by the way. I think it's perfectly on the cushion, so he's just going to have to do a trick shot on it. So let's see. If anyone can do it, it's Selby today. Nah, as I said, I could see that. I'm a little bit surprised that Selby couldn't. That red wasn't going to go anywhere, but still, breaks of 85, 97, 114, 137. He doesn't get any better than that, Mark Selby. You have absolutely proved all the haters wrong, however dumb they might be. That was absolutely brilliant performance. Robertson can only think about what could have been if he played well, but I think that still would not really have been enough there. I tell you what, we came back from the intermission at the same time as Stuart Bingham and Zhang Anda, and they're still playing their first frame back, even though we've played now, how many? 3 frames. They still haven't finished the first one, which just tells you how much of a battle it is. Mark Selby becomes the 3rd semi-finalist out of the 4, and is now through to the last 4. Once again at the China Open, the story continues. The hunt for the 4th crown of the China Open will continue for him as well, as Mark Selby remains to be the only player of the top 16 still to be in contention, but one of the favourites, for sure, if not the favourite. Napontengham and Joey Long may have, the line of, the inexperience up against each other, but Mark Selby will be all down to his experience, his ability, and his brilliant nerves of steel at the end. He is going to be by far the favourite to win this tournament, but is that going to happen with how many upsets we've already seen? Stay tuned in to find out, as we're going to be back there tomorrow for the semi-finals to start, one after another, as we see 4 more sessions of brilliant snooker to find out the winner of the China Open. 2 of the players that have won a ranking tournament before, 3 of the players that have never won the China Open before, and 2 of the players that have never managed to win a ranking tournament. It is set up brilliantly, and we don't even know who's going to be the fourth semi-finalist. Thank you very much for everyone watching. Feel free to hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to be back tomorrow as well, as we see on who's going to be lifting the China Open trophy in around 48 hours time. Thank you very much everyone. Stay tuned in and thanks for watching.